Jay was there earlier, though, on the water. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful night. It's midweek baseball here on FS1. It's the first place D-backs against the Marlins here from Marlins Park. And hello to everybody. Justin Kutcher alongside CJ Nikowski. And CJ, I mentioned how the D-backs are in first place in the National League West, but it has been a strange year for Arizona. Great start. Terrible May, but they've been really good in June again.
Yeah, the peaks and valleys have been real for the Diamondbacks, including some of the injuries that they have had to deal with. But they're playing really good baseball right now. What happened in May happens sometimes, but they were able to work their way out of it and be able to still hold on to first place. That is what's most important. You see the runs per game, 6.1 in the month of June. That is the second most in Major League Baseball. And a big reason is the good work of Paul Goldschmidt. Of course, we know about him. He is a perennial MVP candidate, but he got off to a really slow start this year. There was a lot of strikeouts, a lot of swing and miss in his game, but look what he's done over the last 18 games, absolutely crushing it with the .419 batting average. You see the 9 home runs and nearly a 1,400 OPS.
Unbelievable numbers over that time span. Now, this is the first national game of the season for the Miami Marlins, and the Marlins were really the story of the offseason because of the moves they made. And the narrative has kind of changed since the offseason because I think it's safe to say they've exceeded expectations after all those moves they made.
This was an unusual offseason. Marlins fans have been through this kind of thing before, but this one hurt a little bit. When you think about losing the MVP and Giancarlo Stanton going to the Yankees of all places, that was a tough one for Marlins fans. And you see the rest of the guys, the big names, now wearing different uniforms in 2018, and they're having some really nice years. These fans miss those players, but you're absolutely right. Some good things happening here in Miami, and I think this fan base starting to kind of see a little bit of that light at the end of the tunnel with this Derek Jeter-led Marlins club.
The starter for tonight for the Marlins, it is a spot start for Elieser Hernandez. He gets the start for Miami as he will face this lineup for Torey Lovullo. The first place team, the Arizona Diamondbacks. John Jay, he has been a difference maker since they acquired him. Paul Goldschmidt will bat second. Jake Lamb in the 3-hole. David Peralta bats cleanup. Ketel Marte, the switch hitter, will bat fifth. John Ryan Murphy will catch. Nick Ahmed as the shortstop bats seventh. Gerard Dyson in center bats eighth. And Zach Godley will pinch and bat ninth. And here are the numbers on Hernandez, who is getting the spot start in place of Jose Urena. You see he has appeared in 11 games, made 4 starts, and the numbers on him this year, a 5.12 ERA and 31 2/3 innings. But what manager Don Mattingly has said about him is he is competitive, he's a strike thrower, and a high spin right guy.
Yeah, they've been really impressed with this young man. He's a Rule 5 pick, and you think about Rule 5 picks, don't often work out really well, but they love the competitiveness. They love that he hasn't been afraid at the big league level, going after big league hitters. Won't overpower you with a fastball that sits around 90, but he's got a good slider, and they really, really like his changeup.
And he will face John Jay. First pitch is in there for a strike at 91 miles per hour. Jay, his overall numbers, 306, 2 home runs, 27 RBIs. And he is behind in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. He has appeared in 17 games here with Arizona. 303, a home run, 9 RBIs. Torey Lovullo, his manager, he has basically said the turnaround has coincided with John Jay being here with the ball club because he is an on-base machine, and he has kind of set the table for Paul Goldschmidt. When Goldschmidt moved to the 2-hole, it has made a big difference for this Arizona lineup. The 1-2, good pitch, foul tipped into the mitt of Brian Holiday, and a strikeout for Hernandez. You see the bench coach, Tim Wallach, he is the acting manager here tonight for the Marlins. Here is the defense for the Marlins. Derek Dietrich in left, Lewis Brinson in center, Brian Anderson out there in right field. Justin Bohr at first, Castro at second, JT Riddle at short, Miguel Rojas at third, and Brian Holiday is behind the plate. Don Mattingly is serving a suspension. Dan Straley dropped the appeal, so both he and the manager, Don Mattingly, served the suspension tonight. And Tim Wallach is the acting Marlins manager.
Uh-oh.
And now Phil Cuzzi, he all of a sudden goes over and starts barking at the D-backs dugout.
Trying to set the tone here, I guess, pretty early as far as arguing balls and strikes. And Phil Cuzzi saying, no, it's not going to happen tonight. Let's just go ahead and settle this right now.
The 0-1 to Goldschmidt, and that is pulled inside the line, down the left field line. And Paul Goldschmidt, who has been on fire, continues as he has a one-out double here in the first for Arizona.
This has been such a difference maker for the Diamondbacks as they've gotten things turned around here. You see it, double number 16 for Goldschmidt. Good look at the fastball, trying to go a little bit more in. That pitch ended up staying out over the plate. Barely fair. You're going to see this thing almost hit. It may have hit that foul line. Take a good look at it right there, and that is just excellent placement by Paul Goldschmidt on the one-out double.
So a man in scoring position here with one out for Arizona. Entering this game a record of 44-34. The Marlins 32-47. Arizona a game-and-a-half lead over the Dodgers entering play today. And there's a fastball in there to Jake Lamb. Lamb on the season, 229, 6 home runs, 23 RBIs. But Lamb, CJ, you referenced injuries to this D-backs ball club, and he was one of those players who has missed time with injuries already in the year for Arizona. Another strike there by Hernandez, 0-2.
Yeah, they really have had a lot of injuries to deal with. And when you think about not only injuries, guys like A.J. Pollock so important, and you mentioned Lamb, but then also when you go through that and don't have Paul Goldschmidt performing, it really is a recipe for disaster. And it's amazing to think that the Diamondbacks are in the position that they are in right now, a game and a half up in the National League West, knowing all they've gone through so far this season.
That's up high, 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's a credit to Torey Lovullo, his entire staff. I mean, these are some of the injuries. Shelby Miller came back after Tommy John made the start last night. Robbie Ray will make the start tomorrow, coming back from the oblique injury. You mentioned Pollock, Steven Souza Jr. Randall Delgado's been out the whole year. Taijuan Walker has Tommy John. That's pulled foul. Watch out. May have hit the Marlin.
Is that Billy the Marlin?
He may have to go into concussion protocol.
So it's nice about having the extra large head is that you're going to have a little built-in padding. I don't see any dents, and he says he's got his eyes on Jake Lamb going forward. A Marlin Lamb fight would be an interesting one to watch.
I'd give advantage to a Marlin if it's in the water, of course. That's outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. You mentioned Hernandez being a Rule 5 pick. What a story it is for him. A Rule 5 pick out of the Houston Astros organization back in December. Never pitched above single A. This is inside. Good stop by Holiday. And to think, as a Rule 5 pick, you've got to stay on the Major League roster, otherwise you return to the team that you were drafted from. Here he is, never having pitched above single A, and now he's pitching in the big leagues.
And not only doing it, the overall numbers are so-so. He's 0-4, the ERA is up over 5, but Don Mattingly was really impressed with the way that this guy has handled himself. Says he's asking all the right questions, he's a good learner, and he's just not afraid of big league hitters, and he's gone right at them. The composure has been fantastic, and so he's been very impressive, even though you say, well, the numbers don't look great. But remember, he was playing in A-ball last year.
Castro charging, makes the play. Down to third base goes Goldschmidt. 2 away as we take a look at the forward keys to the game.
Yeah, a couple of things here we're going to look at, and no gold rush. And what Torey Lovullo told us was that Paul Goldschmidt had been rushing to the fastball a little bit. That had been somewhat of a problem. The J-way, John Jay, we've already touched on that a little bit, how important he has been at the top of the lineup. For the Marlins, you got to beat the bender, and that's going to be the really good curveball of Zach Godley. He has got 59 strikeouts. We're going to dig in on that breaking ball a little bit throughout the game. And then the call to the pen. The Miami Marlins bullpen has been really, really good as of late, especially here in the month of June. But they have been overused a little bit, or taken on a lot of innings, the most in Major League Baseball since this month has started. And so the way Hernandez has pitched, a guy who hasn't gone very deep in games, that bullpen is likely to get called upon, and they certainly could be a big factor this evening.
No balls, 1 strike to David Peralta. That's fouled out of play. 0-2 the count. Peralta has put up good numbers this year. 278, 15 home runs, 43 RBIs. And a chance here for Hernandez to get around that 1-out double by Goldschmidt to put up a 0 in the opening frame. The 0-2. And he does it. Gets David Peralta looking. They get a double, but nothing else. Marlins coming up. Face Derek Dietrich leading off here for the Marlins. And the first pitch into center field, coming on is Dice, and that'll fall in for a base hit. So Derek Dietrich, who is using the entire field, does that on the first pitch he sees and gets a base hit. Behind Dietrich, we've got Brian Anderson, the Rookie of the Year candidate for the Marlins. Justin Bour bats third. Starlin Castro in the cleanup spot. JT Riddle bats fifth. Miguel Rojas, Lewis Brinson, Brian Holiday, and the pitcher, Eliezer Hernandez. We didn't get to tell you, but Dietrich came in batting .301 on the season. Now it's Brian Anderson batting .296. He takes the first pitch fastball for a strike. The numbers on Anderson: .296, 4 home runs, 38 RBIs. Another multi-hit game for him last night.
I think Anderson's a really good example. You were mentioning and talking about how they're starting to maybe see what's happening here in Miami and feeling a little bit better about what happened this past offseason, because Brian Anderson is a guy who was probably getting more playing time now than he would have had that roster not been turned over the way it was this past offseason. He has been excellent, taking huge advantage of his opportunity.
Got fooled on that pitch by Godley. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He received one of the best compliments I think you could receive from his manager Don Mattingly before the game. He compared him to Paul O'Neill as far as his competitive streak. He said he is mad all the time. He plays mad. He wants to get a hit every single time. He wants to be perfect. Lays off the breaking ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, I think there's a line in there somewhere, right? You love the intensity, and Don Mattingly, without a doubt, loves the intensity of a guy like Brian Anderson, what it brings to the table, and certainly Paul O'Neill had an excellent career, and that worked for him. But he's a guy, he said, he's like that all the time, right? So it's not that it's, you know, the guys that get angry only in certain situations, or they're really high and really low. It seems like this is an intensity that is consistent, and to get that kind of compliment from Don Mattingly, certainly pretty special. And he likes him as a hitter, which is maybe even a bigger compliment.
2-2. Into the seats. We'll do it again. Zach Godley, the numbers on him this year. He's won his last 3 starts. 8-5 overall, a 4.64 ERA. But he features a really good breaking ball.
He does, and that's going to be the pitch to keep an eye on this evening with Zach Godley. And there's been some good and some bad with him. And what Torey Lovullo talked about with us before the game is that when he stays directional, stays straight toward home plate, doesn't start spinning off too early, that's when he's at his best. He can get in a little bit of trouble, though. He starts falling off to that first base side.
One hopper to Lamb at third, to second for one, over to first, to 5-4-3 double play.
Keep an eye on the potential helmet toss after the double play. Everything looks to be okay. Here's a good look at the pitch and good location as you see that ball running in on the hands of Anderson, and he swings and catches the top half of the ball, and really Taylor made a high one hopper as you see the Diamondbacks turning that perfectly. An easy 5-4-3 double play.
That brings up Justin Bour, who's got tremendous power. He takes the first pitch down low and inside. Bour on the season, 243, 13 home runs, 37 RBIs. They do a semi-shift on Justin Bour. And that's a strike, 1-1. This alignment, the defensive alignment with Ketel Marte playing 7/8 steps deep on the outfield grass at second base, and Nick Ahmed still on the shortstop side of second. Out of the way, third base side, 1-2 is more of an old school type shift, and now they go to the new school shift because here comes Jake Lamb over from third to now play over as the third defender on the right side.
Yeah, this has become a little bit more common now when you get to that 2-strike count. And for opposing defenses, the idea of, are you going to throw an off-speed pitch? You get a guy that's maybe not necessarily shortening of the swing, because think about maybe the old way that you were taught to hit, right? 2 strikes, maybe slap something the other way. Well, obviously, the Diamondbacks don't feel like they're going to get that from Justin Bour. And again, as I mentioned, this is not uncommon where you see that third baseman slide over like that with 2 strikes. And it means, like you can see right here, they're going to pound a left-hander in.
That's inside. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Justin Bour on the season. His hits by direction, not exactly easy to shift against.
No, definitely not. Now, I think this probably has to do more with where do you think he's going to hit a ground ball. Zach Godley's got a 53% ground ball rate. It's nearly 10 points higher than league average. And so you start looking at not just the hits, which certainly matter, but you start looking at what these advanced metrics groups are doing now for teams is, okay, who's the pitcher? What does he throw most? What does the hitter usually do? And it's not just where the hits go, but digging in much deeper and what kind of pitches they believe Zach Godley is going to be using against Justin Bour with 2 strikes.
Another 3-2 bounce foul. We'll do it again. The defense behind Godley in the outfield from left to right. We've got David Peralta, Gerard Dyson, and John Jay. Around the horn in the infield, Paul Goldschmidt at first, Ketel Marte at second, Nick Ahmed at short, Jake Lamb at third, and behind the plate is John Ryan Murphy. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up, and it's going to be ball 4. So a 2-out walk to Justin Bour. And that'll bring up Starlin Castro. Castro was the major league player acquired in the offseason deal for Giancarlo Stanton, last year's National League Most Valuable Player. Castro came over for the Yankees. Stanton went there. Prospects as well came in the deal. And there was talk that maybe Castro would be moved as well, but he has stayed here and hit .270, 3 home runs, and 28 RBIs. And the first pitch breaking ball in there for a strike. The 0-1 from Godley. That misses inside. The curveball got away from him. 1 ball and 1 strike.
That's a really good example of what Lovullo was talking about throughout that pitch right there. Zach Godley falling off the first base side. You'll get a good look at it there. And then when you do that, you're either going to miss up and in, or you're going to yank a pitch and miss down and away to a righty. That's what you saw that breaking ball just kind of spinning out of his delivery a little bit too early.
One. Checked his swing. 2 balls and 1 strike. Godley and Castro have something in common. Both former Cubs. Godley came over to the D-backs in a trade for Miguel Montero. The 2-1. Fastball's inside. Now 3 balls and 1 strike.
The walks have been an issue for Godley this year. 4.4 walks per 9. You see your starting pitchers in the low 3s, and for the really elite guys getting into the mid 2s. So the walks have been an issue. The strikeout rate's been good though, and even 9 strikeouts per 9.
Is that a testament to his stuff, or is that a testament more to the way the game is being played now as far as the strikeouts per 9 innings? 3-1 tapped out in front of the plate. You may have to hold your answer. Here's John Ryan Murphy making the play, and that will end the inning. So now you got some time to think about it. CJ?
I got homework.
No score at the end of 1. Second no score. D-backs and Marlins here at Marlins Park in Miami. It's Ketel Marte, John Ryan Murphy, and Nick Ahmed to face Eliezer Hernandez. The switch hitting Marte. Takes the first pitch in there for a strike. .241, 6 home runs, 31 RBIs. And he's behind in the count, 0-2. Been impressed so far with Hernandez. Got out of that jam in the first, able to strike out Peralta looking, has 2 Ks already. And now he's coming right after Ketel Marte. And just as I say that, he goes high and outside for ball 1.
Well, what's interesting, I think, in the conversation as we were having earlier about when you take a Rule 5 pick, a guy that's never been at an A-ball, and all of a sudden now you're facing big league hitters. What has really stuck out here to the Marlins and what they think has helped is the winter ball. Right? And I do think that playing winter ball gives you such an advantage, especially for guys that are from that country, right? If you're from Dominican, Venezuela, wherever they have winter leagues and you have opportunities to play, even when you're really young, get a little bit of taste, maybe a handful of innings early on, and as you get a little bit older and your career progresses, then you get even a greater opportunity to participate. And winter ball is cutthroat. competition is really good. Guys play hard, and there's no freebies. You can't go down there and kind of figure it out. If you're not getting it done, you're gone. And I think it's just a huge advantage for young players to get that opportunity.
3-2, strikeout number 3 already for Hernandez.
Take a look at the strikeout pitch and a good look at the fastball and good movement. Now they were trying to go away. You see Holiday reaching back over the plate, but with that kind of life on the heater, you can afford to miss spots once in a while. And you see Marte frustrated with himself, thinking he should have got to that fastball.
So 1 away now for John Ryan Murphy. A good start to this one for Hernandez. 5 for 5 first pitch strikes, all of them called. Make it 6 for 6, all of them called. 92 miles per hour. And Don Mattingly talked about the high spin rate. And if you're a fastball guy and they talk about spin rate, it's almost like late life. So it plays faster than maybe 92, 93.
Yeah, what's cool about, I think, spin rate coming into our game and the conversations that are out there now is we used to say things like, boy, that guy's got like an invisible fastball. Like he's not lighting up the radar gun, but I can't get to it. And it would drive guys crazy. And it's because it would spin.
Line drive over a leaping JT Riddle for a base hit. A 1-out single here for John Ryan Murphy. The 2018 Camping World MLB All-Star Ballot is now open and exclusively online. You can vote for your favorite players at MLB.com/vote. Catch all the excitement of the 89th All-Star Game, presented by MasterCard, July 17th, live on Fox and ESPN Radio. So you like it because now you're able to identify the reasons.
Sure, and also I think it helps teams and the ones that were ahead of the curve on this a little bit is to find some diamonds in the rough. Maybe I think go back to the Chris Young example with the Kansas City Royals, a guy that his fastball would sit in the upper 80s. Obviously he's a really tall guy and that worked to his advantage as well, but he was one of the first that we really talked about spin rate and saying, you know, he's got really good spin rate, so when he throws that high fastball, it stays there. I don't believe that you can throw a rising fastball. That's a conversation that goes on, but essentially if you have a lower spin rate, gravity's going to take that ball down a little bit as it makes its way from the pitching rubber to across the plate, where if you're spinning it more, that ball will stay up in the zone and you can get a lot of strikeouts at the top of the zone, even with average velocity.
The 0-1 to Nick Ahmed. 1 ball and 1 strike.
So this is kind of interesting, a pitcher metric when you start to get into it a little bit. Extension, of course, they can measure how far out the pitcher gets, and then the velocity and the spin rate on that pitch, and you start to get an idea of what it really looks like. You can put those things together, and for that slider at 79, and really works well on the fastball, but it'll tell you something on the breaking ball as well.
Foul back this way. 1 ball and 2 strikes here to Nick Ahmed.
Especially on the curveball. Right, we talk about that. Charlie Morton is a good example of a guy who's got high spin rate on the breaking ball. We would just look at it when you only had your eyes and say, man, that thing's tight. Now we can say, well, how tight? You can actually say this guy's got the tightest breaking ball as opposed to arguing about it.
So you don't like arguing?
I love arguing, and I miss it so much, and I especially miss it out on the field. As much as replay has been a good thing for our game, I do miss umpires going out there, or excuse me, managers going out there and arguing, and throwing stuff, kicking dirt.
Inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. As we mentioned earlier, Don Mattingly serving a suspension from an altercation with Dan Straley in the San Francisco Giants last weekend. So Tim Wallach is the acting manager here tonight for the Marlins. Two balls and 2 strikes here to Ahmed. In the dirt, 3-2. See, I like having the numbers to justify what you're seeing with your eyes. But I think that's exactly what it is. It's a justification of it. It's a verification of it.
Without a doubt. That's why they work hand in hand, and the Diamondbacks especially, really both of these managers talked about how happy they are with the conversations and kind of the tone between their analytics department and the guys in uniform, and the back and forth and the respectfulness that goes on in those conversations.
Runner goes, and the pitch is pulled foul down the left field line.
second deck foul ball. But that's important because I think when we first started having these conversations, whether they were in a clubhouse or whether they were friends or on the internet, on the radio, whatever it may be, it got pretty contentious, right? And there was a lot of pushback on where these numbers were coming from, what they meant, how valid they really were. And I think everybody on both sides now showing a lot more respect to each other and understanding. It's the marriage of understanding the game and understanding the metrics which is going to work best and benefit a team the most.
Torey Lovullo, he sent John Ryan Murphy on the last 3-2 pitch. Let's see what he does here on this 3-2 pitch. He goes again. The 3-2 misses up high for ball 4. First walk of the game issued by Hernandez. And it's first and second, 1 out now for Arizona.
Take a look at this last pitch here after a lengthy at bat, going with the breaking ball at the top of the zone. Good look at it right there. Not really trying to throw breaking ball up, although I will tell you this, and Trevor Bauer is kind of a good example of it. There are guys that will try to throw their breaking ball up in the zone a little bit more, and a lot of that has to do with kind of understanding what the ball looks like based on spin rate. It's not just about throwing everything down and away. That one, however, not intentional.
Here's Gerard Dyson. Tough guy to double up, great speed as he fouls the first pitch back, but Dyson's numbers 185 on the season with 2 home runs, 10 RBIs.
The situation, even though there is 1 out, you still have to be concerned about the bunt. As you see the Marlins and the way they're playing this, and Miguel Rojas in on the grass. 41 bunt attempts for Dyson this year.
Pops this one up. Riddle going back in the outfield grass. Infield fly rule is called. Riddle makes the catch, 2 away, and that brings up the pitcher, Zach Godley.
Yeah, I got it.
That's a good launch angle. You love that launch angle.
Let's see what the launch angle is for Zach Godley. 3 for 27 on the season. And this is going to be a visit to the mound. Remember, only 6 mound visits per game, and that's one right here with the pitcher at the plate. So an interesting choice here by Brian Holiday to go out to speak with Hernandez right there.
Well, if you feel like it's critical, now it's interesting with the pitcher up. Is that the time they want to waste one of those visits? But I think we've seen it maybe once or twice where a team has actually run out of mound visits. And so while it certainly helped, and we don't see nearly as many,
whoa,
it's been a non-issue.
And that's going to be a ball. Hernandez tripped. Now you want to make sure he's okay, but now it's second and third with 2 outs. You don't see that very often.
No, you certainly don't, and kind of unusual, but you know, the options there are just to go ahead and throw it anyway, but you're probably going to have the same result, right? Where everybody's going to go ahead and move up a base anyway. So probably a little panic setting in right there. Not something you see every day. Now, you just used that mound visit. And so the idea then of wanting to go out and use one now to calm him down, even as Miguel Rojas was kind of sneaking in a little bit, you're not even really allowed to talk to the pitcher. You start to motion toward him, make your way there, even though your initial reaction is concern for your guy.
Well, that could have been one where you say it's an injury precaution. You go out to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. I just don't know if an infielder initiates it, if they would allow it. I think these umpires are not going to crush guys on something like that. I think they're a little bit liberal here as we kind of go through this first year of making sure we figure that out. But in that situation, you're much better just having the trainer come out first.
1 ball, 1 strike. Here's the count here to Godley. Low and outside, 2-1. An opportunity for Godley to help himself right here, pick up his 4th hit, and that could potentially drive in 2 runs as John Ryan Murphy's at 3rd and Nick Ahmed is at 2nd. 2 outs here, top of the 2nd. Holiday goes through the signs. The 2-1. Fouled back, a big hack there by Godley. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Not a terrible looking hack either for a 111 hitter. And I was kind of interested to see which way they would play this, right? You got a 2-1 count. You got a starting pitcher on the ropes a little bit. You got your pitcher up. Would you take a pitch? Would you try to work him a little bit more, try to put some pressure on the pitcher? But they obviously let Zach Godley go ahead and take a hack if you see something that you like.
Now the 2-2. Got him swinging. So Hernandez gets around that ball, gets the strikeout. Still no scores. We go to the bottom half of the second. At MLB games across the country all season long through Geico Seats of Service. And we thank all of you who serve our nation and give us the chance to do just this. Come out and enjoy a baseball game. Thank you. Bottom half of the second, no score. D-backs and Marlins. Justin Kutcher alongside CJ Nitkowski here on FS1. It'll be JT Riddle, Miguel Rojas, and Lewis Brinson to face Zach Godley, who just struck out with runners on at second and third to end the top half of the second. And Riddle shows bunt, pulls it back, and takes the pitch for a ball. JT Riddle, the shortstop, hitting .221, 3 home runs, 11 RBIs. To the gap in left center field. Dyson, he will not get there even with his speed. And Riddle is into second, takes a turn, and Riddle's going to head for third. Here comes the throw, the tag, and he's out. Aggressive base running by JT Riddle. And a good relay between Gerard Dyson and Nick Ahmed.
What a great at-bat as far as the approach and where he hit this ball. Get a good look at the two-seam fastball, staying a little bit more horizontal, not getting the downward movement. And he just does an excellent job of driving it, not just hitting it the other way, but driving it the other way in the opposite field gap. When you see Dyson there struggling a little bit, I think what Riddle saw there, he started to pull up thinking automatic double, and then he saw Dyson bobbling the ball. Now he's still looking. Once you take that turn, you just go. Not that he would have been safe anyway, but I thought there was just slight hesitation and kind of watching the bobble out in center field, but this one not even close. Good execution on the relay by the Diamondbacks.
And a nice pick as well by Jake Lamb, and then to apply the tag. So one away for Miguel Rojas, who's behind in the count, 0-1. Checks the swing, 1 ball and 1 strike on that curveball. Rojas hitting .252, 7 home runs and 29 RBIs. Flashes a little smile as he was able to lay off that breaking ball. Sharp ground ball to short. Nick Ahmed, who is so sure-handed, doesn't handle that one.
That's pretty unexpected. This ball was hit hard, but this is a defensive team here in Arizona that does an excellent job of converting batted balls into outs, and this is pretty routine. And you see that high hop just caught him on the heel of the glove, maybe moving a little bit too much before he got a good grip on this, or maybe an assumption that it wasn't going to bounce as high as it did.
Just the fourth error of the year for Nick Ahmed.
So I guess you can take it backwards, right? The defense giveth, taketh away.
Showing bunt is Brinson, pulls it back. 1 ball, no strikes. Lewis Brinson, 177, 9 home runs, 29 RBIs. One of the players the Marlins acquired from the Brewers in the Christian Yelich deal. In the air, right field, John Jay going over by the wall. He's going to slide. This is a foul ball. I thought it was also interesting in our talk with Don Mattingly, where, you know, JT Riddle, 221, you said how much you liked his approach. Lewis Brinson, a guy who's got tremendous talent, hitting 177 on the season. He talked about patience and how much the game has changed. And you asked, do you have to coach more, teach more at the major league level? As Brinson in the air to left field. Peralta, plenty of room. He'll make the catch. Rojas, he's going to tag, saw the ball was offline, and he'll go into second base. Really good base running right there by Miguel Rojas.
Absolutely, and kind of surprising to see that throw as far offline as it was. But it just wasn't accurate. Watch the read. Good job by Rojas, right? You're not thinking really tag up, but go ahead and go there, take a look, maybe get a look at the throw, and as soon as you saw that throw was offline, and it was offline by a pretty significant amount, Rojas decided to go watch him right here and say, you know, let me just go back here. Maybe I'll give a fake tag, see what happens, make him throw it, and then that's excellent right there. Good little stutter step and go as soon as you saw that throw offline. Good base running.
Now Brian Holiday with first base open in the pitcher spot. Up next, takes the first pitch breaking ball for a strike. But what do you think about that? How there's more patience involved now at the big league level, whereas maybe when you were playing or when Mattingly was playing, if you didn't perform, you're back down.
So there's pluses and minuses, and there certainly were teams that would tolerate, you know, guys that are struggling at the big league level even at different times in our game.
Holiday, foul ball.
But I think, you know, you look at your team and you have to be honest, and even though the Marlins are doing some better things and they're not ready to turn the corner, but it's not as horrific as everybody thought it was going to be this season. You don't want to get off of your plan, right? Your plan was to give guys like Brinson some extra looks and let them struggle a little bit. Now, there's a balance in there, and I think Don Mattingly is very well aware of it, where you don't want necessarily guys to fail a ton. That'll beat you up, and that's really difficult to recover from, but there's certainly some value to having that time where you're sitting there and you're striking out, you're making out, you're not hitting great, but you're learning a ton. And so, yes, as a coaching staff, teammates, fans, it does require, Derek Jeter does require a little bit more patience. And there's value, and they definitely believe that it's worth it. They think that they'll get some good returns over the long term.
And by the way, happy birthday to Derek Jeter. And up there with him is Don Mattingly, as they can have a conversation. Since Don Mattingly is serving his suspension here.
It's worse ways to serve a suspension, I guess.
It's amazing how the roles have changed. Mattingly was the guy who taught Jeter the Yankee way, and now it's Jeter who's part of the ownership group and the CEO of the Marlins, who's now Don Mattingly's boss.
Well, two guys that came out of pretty incredible systems. I mean, think about where we are right now in the game. You got two guys that only played with one organization. That's certainly something that is changing over time. We're not going to see it nearly as much as we used to, but what you like about both of those guys is that the expectation is high to win, right? It's one thing, yes, you're going through a rebuild, and that was something that Mattingly talked about today, it's still about winning to some degree. They know they're probably not going to the postseason this year, but when you go through these rebuilds, one of the things you always concern yourself with, at least I do, is that guys get comfortable losing, and they're just not going to allow that to happen.
1 ball, 2 strikes here to Holiday. Rojas on at second. 1-2, another breaking ball. I'd be surprised if Holiday is going to see a fastball here with a pitcher spot due up and first base open.
Toughest spot in Major League Baseball to hit is in the 8-hole in the National League because of that exact situation. You get yourself in a tough count. You got a runner in scoring position. You have the pitcher on deck. It's much too early in the game to be concerned about any kind of pinch hitter. And it can be a challenge knowing that pitchers are going to be working the edges, flipping off speed pitches in there, and at least not intentionally giving you anything over the middle of the plate.
Another 1-2, another breaking ball, and a strikeout. The first strikeout for Godley of the game. We're through 2, no score. D-backs and Marlins. Mexico takes on Sweden at 9 a.m. Eastern, only on Fox, while Korea Republic faces Germany on FS1, or stream it all live on the Fox Sports app. What a view that is here in Miami. Wow, lots of boats out on the water. Why not? Beautiful day here inside of Marlins Park. Top of the third, scoreless game, D-backs and Marlins. Game 1 of this series went to the Marlins last night, 9-5. Eliezer Hernandez will face the top of the order, John Jay. And the first pitch curveball misses for ball 1. Jay struck out his first time up to open up the ball game. There's a good pitch.
I asked Torey Lovello about this, and I've always kind of felt that John Jay is kind of underrated around the game. He doesn't have a lot of power, but he brings a lot of other things to the table. Batting average being one of them, and I know we don't value it the way that we used to, but he has been very good as he takes one off the leg, it looks like, and gets himself on base. And on base has been something that he's done very well.
He's one of those guys, so it's a hit by pitch, right? He's on base. He also plays really good defense, and he can play all 3 outfield positions. So he's now batting leadoff. You got Paul Goldschmidt batting second. We mentioned how there has been an order change, and since it happened, look at the numbers.
mean, that is fantastic. And I thought it was a pretty sneaky kind of stealth pickup to bring John Jay over here. Now, they had a necessity with some injuries, but they did a really good job of finding a player that could make a difference. And you can see right there, he has made a difference instantly. And it's almost like these two kind of click together. You bring John Jay over here, put him in the leadoff spot. He's getting on base. And all of a sudden, Paul Goldschmidt started making those small adjustments to what he was doing with his swing. Everything got going really well. You put him in the 2-hole, which I love, putting really good hitters in the 2-hole.
Why do you love it?
The idea of a starting pitcher going through that inning, and all of a sudden, right away, it completely changes the dynamic of the game. You are now facing the team's best hitter in the second spot. Think about facing Mike Trout. There's so many good ones that hit in the 2 spot. Josh Donaldson when he's going well, when he's healthy. And it's completely different. Now, it also depends on what you have at the bottom and how your team is built. Right? Think about teams like say the Reds. Like Billy Hamilton has struggled to hit at the top of the lineup, but you can put him 9, and it's essentially like having another leadoff hitter. So go ahead and put Joey Votto batting second, and he's got more than likely a couple of speed guys in front of him.
Step off the mound. Now, the old philosophy was have your best hitter hit third. So why now is it so much better to have your best hitter hit second?
Well, part of it too is based on personnel. Like if you just don't have a guy that fits the number 2 spot for you, why force somebody in there? Just go ahead and move everybody up one and get your better hitters going earlier.
Goldschmidt in the air to left field. Dietrich going back at the warning track. He now comes in, makes the play. Tagging up is Jay. The throw comes in, and Castro's tag not in time. And there's good base running by John Jay. So now we've seen 2 players in this game tag up on fly balls to left field.
It's good heads-up base running, and Paul Goldschmidt just missed this ball as you see it caught just in front of the track. And a good job by Dietrich to get behind it, but look at the hesitation right there on the exchange. I just wonder if he would have been out had he not had that little bit of an issue. It was close. It was a good throw. I mentioned good base running, good read by Jay. I don't know, I wonder if he caught it clean out of his hands. This might have been closer than it was. He might have been out.
And I love the intricacies of the game. The mics are doing a great job picking up little things. You could hear Justin Bohr yelling, tag, tag, as Jake Lamb swings and misses at that breaking ball. 0-1.
That's all part of your job, right? A lot of people kind of make that assumption that, I'm not involved in this play. No, you got to communicate. You got to let other guys know what's going on. It's not just if a ball's hit at you, then you have something to do. Otherwise, you don't do anything. No. And that's also the job of the center fielder. Brinson is there letting him know, hey, tag, he's going. Once he realizes he has no play on that ball, he becomes a communicator.
Lamb, he goes to left field. Dietrich's going back. He won't get this one as this one's off the wall. Jay's going to come around to score. In with an RBI double is Jake Lamb. 1-0. D-backs lead here in the third.
That's a really impressive at-bat. We've seen already a couple of different guys on both clubs going the other way with some authority, and you got a runner in scoring position, get yourself a fastball pretty well located, middle away, and you stay down on it. Jake Lamb drives this ball, and that has been the talk about Jake Lamb as of late, what he has been doing better. That's hitting the ball hard the other way. He's hitting 367 with runners in scoring position coming into this one, so he's been pretty comfortable in these spots. That's amazing. That ball got off the wall. He crushed it.
That was the first hit with a runner in scoring position for the D-backs tonight. They're now 1 for 5. Peralta at the plate. He goes the other way. Dietrich is going back, still going back. Cannot make the catch off his glove. Lamb is going to come in to score as Dietrich bobbles it again. And into second base is Peralta. 2-0 Arizona leading. Dietrich not happy with himself right now.
Well, you get a good look here at high home, and once again a ball driven the other way here by a Diamondbacks hitter and hit with authority. Now Dietrich will tell you he probably should have caught that ball, and he was kicking it around a little bit after the fact. We saw him out here earlier doing some work defensively. I don't want to say it was necessarily live BP, but he had a pretty good hitter that was basically were soft tossing balls, and Don Mattingly was hitting him left-handed. I don't know what other coach was hitting him right-handed, but they had a left-handed and a right-handed coach hitting balls live for him to practice exactly that.
And that was ruled a double for David Peralta, so it's the 14th double of the season, his 44th RBI. And there was a mound visit. And I believe that's the second official mound visit for the Marlins here Back-to-back doubles with runners in scoring positions. And now Ketel Marte, who struck out his first time up, is at the plate. And Marte takes the first pitch in there, first strike. So in this game, we've already seen heads-up base running on two guys tagging up on fly balls to left field. We've seen multiple players go the other way with the ball. And everybody says, how do you beat the shift? What do you do? How do you change the game? That's how you change the game, by actually going with the pitch, driving the ball the other way.
Those are the kind of hitters that you really like. Those are the kind of hitters that are tough on good pitching. They're the ones that are the most difficult to game plan against when they're willing to take a pitch that is away and try to hit it the other way. Take a look. You'll get a look at the replay right here. It's a breaking ball that hung up. And look at him stay down right there as far as his head, not trying to get too big. Now, it's easy. If you're thinking pull power all the time and just trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, your eyes get big. And sure, you could pull that ball maybe out of the ballpark, but there's a lot of times you're going to pop it straight up because your swing gets too big trying to pull it. You have a much better chance giving yourself that base hit if you're willing to go the other way.
Timeout is called at the plate. Don Mattingly said to us, guys that hit the ball the other way have a chance to succeed. His nickname was the Hitman.
No doubt. Those are the toughest guys. I hated facing the guys that were willing to take you the other way early in the count.
Fly ball, much easier play this time for Dietrich. And back to second base goes Peralta. 2 away here in the third.
So you never intentionally hit a ball at a defender. When you see a guy having a little bit of a rough time, it almost feels like the Diamondbacks are like, hit it to left field. And he's a good defender and does a nice job. He had a little bit of an issue on the exchange when you saw John Jay tagging and then that misplay in left field that was ruled a double. But you do like, I mean, the fact that he was out there early does tell you that he knows he needs to be doing a little bit of work on his defense, and he's all the way committed and in. But a little bit of a rough inning out there.
John Ryan Murphy singled, was stranded at third in the second. Now comes up with 2 outs and a runner at second. 2-0 Arizona leading. He takes the first pitch for a strike. Pop foul. Out of play. 0-2. I'm not going to lie, the effort by the fan sitting in the seat wasn't the best effort.
Well, South Florida, man. Take it easy.
I mean, take it easy. He never even stood up. You got a chance to catch a pop-up like that, and you got a glove in your hand? I want to see somebody make a leaping catch.
If you have a glove, the effort needs to be there then. Otherwise, we're going to come take your glove away.
0-2, nice pitch. And John Ryan Murphy goes down swinging, but 2 runs in the inning. A couple of doubles. It's 2-0 Arizona. the third for Arizona as we go to the bottom half of the inning, and it's 9-1-2 in the order. Eliezer Hernandez, Derek Dietrich, and Brian Anderson against Godley, and the first pitch fastball is in there for a strike. Hernandez 0 for 8 on the season. Low and outside, 1-1. One ball, two strikes. All fastballs so far from Zach Godley to his pitching counterpart. Foul tip, staying alive, 1-2.
You can still see Godley kind of falling off to the first base side, and it's okay that you fall off. It's just a matter of when you fall off. At what point in your delivery are you getting through that pitch first and then falling off to the first base side? That's fine. Their concern, and when he struggles a little bit, is when he starts falling off a little bit too early. Looked like he might have on that pitch and on that one as well. I kind of like the phrase that Torey Lovullo used. He said landing his curveball. Watch him here. You're going to see him start to, kind of that weight hits on the outside of the left foot. You can see the toe coming up in the air just a little bit too early. Timing is everything in these spots for guys that peel off like that.
The emergency swing right there by Hernandez, able to foul it off. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I was thinking Kevin Brown when we had that conversation. It seemed like he would just disappear from the screen, right? The way that he would fall off with that nasty sinker that he had.
At 97.
Yeah, former Marlin, Padre, Yankee.
And there's a strikeout. Second strikeout for Godley. Dietrich is coming up. We referenced the work he was doing earlier today with Don Mattingly, hitting fly balls out to him. He was trying to hit fly balls. He said, I couldn't do it. I was line drives.
What else is new, right? For Don Mattingly, that's all he did, gap to gap with the line drives. So both him and Lucas were out there, and you'll see why they're doing this, right? You got a left-handed hitter, right-handed hitter, because they had a left-handed hitting coach, and Don Mattingly, a right-handed hitting coach, and Lucas. And the point of that is the ball will come off the bat differently. And it's one thing to stand there with a fungo and hit a guy a ball. It's another thing to throw a pitch, even if it's an easy pitch. Go ahead and just kind of lob it in there and let a guy go ahead and swing, and so you get much better and much more realistic reads.
Dietrich singled on the first pitch he saw. He takes the breaking ball for a strike. 1-1.
Did it make you a little sad the way it made me sad? You grew up a Yankee fan. I grew up a Yankee fan. I sat in the upper deck of Yankee Stadium holding up a Don Mattingly sign, and just a childhood hero of mine. But then to hear him say, yeah, I'm going to be sore for a few days after this. I was like, oh, man, we're all getting old. It's like going to a Motley Crue concert now. You're just like, oh, I didn't need to see that.
I was more excited just to actually see him swing.
Yeah.
I mean, the swing still looked good. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The count here to Dietrich. Just able to get a piece of it is Dietrich.
Much as we have talked about the defense with him last inning, he has been swinging pretty unbelievable bat. 396 over the last 30 days, so essentially over the last month for him. He's been absolutely crushing it. Don Mattingly loves him as a hitter.
And this time he goes down swinging on the curveball. Time for a game break. Let's go to LA and check in with Chris Myers. All right, Chris, thank you very much. Mookie Betts, how about that guy, huh? 20 home runs.
He's a stud, and he could be playing center field too. It's a guy that's an unbelievable athlete. As much of a great hitter as he is, equally or maybe more impressed with his bowling.
I was going to say, he might be appearing on Fox with bowling soon.
It's going to be a great year in the American League East. It has been a good half a year so far. And I don't feel strong picking one over the other. I mean, you can sit there and look at both. You see the positives between the Yankees and the Red Sox, and some question marks about where they need to add. Do the Yankees need to add a starter? Is there enough there for the Red Sox? I know some fans get tired of Yankee Red Sox talk, but the reality is they're two of the better teams in baseball.
Outside, 2 balls and 1 strike to Anderson, who grounded into the 5-4-3 double play his first time up. So much talk about the Yankees and Red Sox, and not as much talk about the actual World Series champion Houston Astros and that team. Wow. Their starting rotation,
yeah.
their lineup.
It's going to be difficult. There is no easy path in the American League to the World Series. The 3 teams that we're looking at, and the Cleveland Indians, I think they're going to get it together. They have a really weak division, and so they've been able to take advantage of that. They're certainly not a team that you can just look over either, gloss over. I mean, it's at the very top of the American League, things are really tight and really good. There's a lot of separation there throughout the entire league, but the top is really strong.
It almost reminds me a little bit of the NBA and the Western Conference. When you have the Rockets and the Warriors, those 2 teams are so good. You put 3 teams in the American League, the Yankees, Red Sox, and Astros, and then everybody else. 3-2 is outside. There's a walk, second walk of the game by Zach Godley. A 2-out walk here in the 3rd.
As a guy who never watches the NBA, I'll take your word for it.
Thanks, appreciate that.
I could have let it go. I could have just nodded my head. Not in my personality.
You're too busy covering the Texas Rangers and
holding on my iPads.
Yeah, I mean,
can't do everything.
Yeah, it's too much. You think you could look something up on the iPads? Here's Justin Bohr.
National Basketball Association.
He could tie it with 1 swing of the bat here. And the first pitch fastball is inside for ball 1. Bohr walked his first time up. Goes without the batting gloves. So here's one of the things I love about the shifts. And obviously they're 2 outs, so you're not worried about a double play. But do you even think Nick Ahmed and Ketel Marte have to do open mouth, closed mouth on who's covering the bag here?
It's pretty obvious who's going to get that assignment. Should have become necessary, but that is a strange one. You don't see that too often where you have your second baseman in the outfield and your shortstop on that side of the bag. And they've been pounding him in too. That's been interesting to me, the part of it with the cutter, fastballs in, which by watching that so far, that tendency would tell me ground ball to the right side. And that's why you take your third baseman to make him go over there.
So now the third baseman, Jake Lamb, goes over there. They did this with Bohr his first time up with 2 strikes. Now they do it on a 3-0 count.
Yeah. Strictly to confuse us, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure why they do that on a 3-0 count if they were doing it on a 2-strike count.
Well, it won't matter. It's back-to-back walks here with 2 outs in the 3rd. First and second, 2 away here in the bottom half of the 3rd inning with Starlin Castro coming up. Catch baseball's biggest stars for an unforgettable show from the nation's capital. The MLB All-Star Game, July 17th, only on Fox, or stream it live on the Fox Sports app. And the first visit to the mound for the D-backs as pitching coach Mike Butcher comes out. The entire infield will partake in this visit.
Well, now's the time after a couple of walks. You got a pretty tight game. Your team has spotted you a couple of runs. And you go through the middle of this Marlins lineup. You don't want to give them an opportunity after you got 2 quick outs. And you see those couple of walks, and knowing that Castro certainly still capable of doing some damage. He's actually been very good against the fastball this year and against the cutter, and that's 2 of the pitches that you'll see a lot from Godley, and so that could be part of the conversation, maybe some strategy. Starlin Castro hitting .348 against right-handed cutters going back to the beginning of last year.
A 2-0 deficit here for the Marlins in the bottom of the 3rd. Castro tapped out in front of the mound his first time up. Excuse me, in front of the plate his first time up. And the ground ball to third base, glove there by Lamb. He'll go to second for the force out, and that will do it. So once again, the Marlins strand a couple of base runners. 2-0 D-backs through 3. Nick Ahmed will lead things off here for the D-backs. Ahmed walked his first time up. 55 pitches through 3 innings for Eliezer Hernandez. Good pitch, strike 1.
It's kind of interesting. Both of these starters have some pretty drastic splits, and I don't know what to completely make of those home road splits. I mean, obviously there's an advantage to being at home, but both of them significantly better. Hernandez came into this one with a 3.15 ERA here at Marlins Park and nearly an 8.5 ERA when he's not home. Godley somewhat similar, 2.89 in Arizona, which is not a great place to pitch necessarily. He's a ground ball pitcher, so that works to his advantage. But an ERA over 6 on the road. Now he has been better so far through 3 innings here in Miami, but both of these guys not too comfortable away from their home ballparks this year.
That was about a 54-footer right there by Hernandez. A great scoop by Holiday.
Worm killer.
Brian Holiday getting the start. Their normal catcher, JT Realmuto, he is getting another day off. Talk about high praise. The 1-2 outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. I don't think Don Mattingly and Tim Wallach could say enough good things about JT Realmuto.
And they loved watching his development over these last couple of years and the star that he has become. You can make an argument that he's one of the best catchers in the game, especially all the way around all parts of his game. And there's certainly guys that you can pick apart. So this guy's got better tools, better receivers, a better thrower. This guy's better power. This guy's a better average hitter. You try to put all those things together. I know how much you love the WAR stat. He's far and away the highest WAR of any catcher. Take that for what it's worth. There's some value there, but not. It's not a be-all, end-all. I joke, but there's value in WAR.
And called strike 3. 6th strikeout of the game for Hernandez, as Ahmed goes down looking here to open up the 4th.
Yeah, good pitch here. 2nd strikeout looking too, and just kind of living on the edges and painting right there. On a full count, it's a great pitch.
One away now for Gerard Dyson. Popped out to shortstop his first time up. Tries to bunt, pops it foul. And that's the kind of foul ball you want to go after.
Yeah, I mentioned the 41 bunt attempts make it now 42 for Jarrod Dyson, second in Major League Baseball behind Billy Hamilton. Second by a decent amount, who had 58 coming into tonight. Now I would think that this guy would be, Hernandez would be tough to bunt against, even though he doesn't throw hard. If he elevates that fastball with a good spin rate, a little bit harder to get on top of when you're trying to bunt, because there's that anticipation that the ball is going to come down, and when it doesn't, you end up popping it up like that.
No balls, 2 strikes. The count here to Dyson with Godley on deck. That nearly hits Jarrod Dyson. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Now, we mentioned the injuries. One of the injuries for this D-backs team was to A.J. Pollock, fractured left thumb. He was cleared yesterday to resume baseball activities, which includes taking batting practice. So that will change the dynamics of this team once A.J. Pollock can come back. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Well, it definitely will, and we'll see what they ultimately decide to do with their lineup in that spot. The Pollock-Goldschmidt combination for so long was huge. You mentioned John Jay, what he has done since he has been here, and what he's meant to that lineup, and to Paul Goldschmidt.
That's back-to-back strikeouts here for Hernandez to open up the 4th. He's got 7 in the game.
Let's show you a good look at the changeup grip for Hernandez. And again, trying to go down and away, but look at the downward movement on the pitch. So even though he missed into a hitter like Dyson, that works. He's not a guy that's going to get big with his swing. Now, a power hitter, that could have been a little bit more of an issue, missing down and into a power lefty, but not to Jarrod Dyson.
Now facing the pitcher, and Zach Godley starts him off with a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. He's got 7 strikeouts through 3 2/3 innings, and that is a new career high. Two 2-0. The count here to Godley, who was one of those 7 strikeout victims. Struck out to end the 2nd with runners on at 2nd and 3rd.
It's interesting, right? You come in, you got a Diamondbacks offense that's been swinging in bats really great, especially here in the month of June. You got a pitcher in Hernandez who wasn't really a big strikeout guy. Only had 4 strikeouts per 9. That is extremely low. Less than a strikeout every other inning. League averages are in the high 7s. It was 8 the last couple of years. We're off of that mark by a little bit. But nearly half of league average had been his strikeout rate.
There's a mistake there as he walks the pitcher Godley on 5 pitches. 2nd walk of the game. The MLB At Bat mobile app brings every baseball moment to your favorite devices. Catch it all season with the free MLB.tv Game of the Day, live radio broadcasts, in-game highlights, stats, news, and more. Download MLB At Bat today. It's your #1 app for live baseball. Live midweek baseball here on FS1. The D-backs, first place in the NL West, lead 2-0 over the Miami Marlins. Top of the 4th inning, John Jay hit by a pitch back in the 3rd, came around to score on the RBI double by Jake Lamb, has also struck out. Eliezer Hernandez had 14 total strikeouts entering this game. He's got 7 through 3 2/3 tonight. And there's a strike there to even the count at 1-1. Entering this game, the Marlins would have been very happy to get 5 innings out of Hernandez. Missing inside, 2 balls and 1 strike. If he can get the final out here, he's at 74 pitches. You're thinking they could very well get 5 innings out of him.
Yeah, it's pretty much been the case for him. He has not thrown more than 5 innings in any start this year. He actually had a couple of starts, or just a 1 start, excuse me, where he only threw 3. He hasn't thrown more than 82 pitches. That has been his season high, which of course is his career high as well. So you wonder about that part of it. You see 75 pitches so far, the pitches by inning. 16 has been the lowest. He's done it twice.
2 balls, 2 strikes, looking for his 8th strikeout of the game. And he gets it with the fastball against John Jay. So he has worked 4 innings. He has kept his team in the game as the Marlins trail the D-backs 2-0. about his curveball.
All 3 strikeouts have come on the curveball. You can see the really tight rotation. It's been a good pitch for him this year. Just a 204 batting average against. It's the tightness. I mean, yes, that's a pitcher, but he still missed it by about 1.5 feet. That's not a pitcher. Dietrich, and he missed it as well. And so it's been a tight breaking ball, and give you a little bit of a look of what that means around Major League Baseball for Zach Godley. Now 62 strikeouts on the curveball. That's the 3rd most in the game. Charlie Morton bumped up to 70. He's got 4 already tonight, and they're all on curveballs. He's got those 4 through an inning and 2/3.
How about the fact that numbers 1 and 2 on that graphic are both with the Astros? And Charlie Morton closed out the World Series. Lance McCullers Jr. closed out the ALCS. McCullers Jr. threw, I think it was 24 straight curveballs to close out the ALCS.
There's a fastball. A time in the game where they just wouldn't allow you to do that. They would got to use your fastball. You have to establish your fastball. I think that's part of the kind of analytics revolution, is you can dig in a little bit more and say, you know what, it's okay. Now 24 is a little bit excessive, but the idea that you could use your breaking ball more.
Well, there's a good job by JT Riddle hanging in on the breaking ball, kept his hands back, and he's got his 2nd hit of the night. A leadoff single here in the 4th.
Take a look. There's a good look at the breaking pitch, and not a terrible one. It wasn't below the zone. That's when you just kind of tip your cap to the hitter as he goes out and he hooks that pitch and lines it very nicely into right field.
Now Miguel Rojas will bat. Reached on the error by Nick Ahmed his first time up.
But just to finish that off real quick, what is so fascinating about a trend in the game, these guys are all throwing harder. No 2 ways about it. They throw harder than the generation before them by a pretty good margin, but they're using their fastballs less.
Runner goes. They stay out of the double play as Rojas is retired, 6-3. Riddle down to 2nd base. 1 out here in the 4th. How do you feel about that? These guys who throw harder yet use the fastball less.
I mean, Charlie Morton's a good example, right? He got away from the sinker, went to the 4-seamer more, used the curveball more than the slider. Whatever it takes. At the end of the day, whatever it takes. And so being open to the information, understanding it, and kind of walking guys through why it might be better off to use your breaking ball. I don't care. You just got to get guys out. And this is a pretty cutthroat game, and if you don't, they're going to move on to the next guy. And so if it means more breaking balls, great. Now, we'll say that as hitters become better on the low balls and they're trying to get the ball in the air a little bit more, curveballs for strikes maybe aren't as favorable. It's not as if, you know, they're not throwing their fastball, but it has been about 10% drop in usage over the last decade plus.
There is a first pitch curveball to Lewis Brinson, who flew out to left field his first time up. Speaking with Lance McCullers Jr. last year, he said he feels more confident throwing his curveball first strike than he does throwing his fastball first strike. And he said he'll throw his curveball at any time in any count. He'll be behind in the count 3-1. He'll go curveball, followed up with another curveball. There's a fastball at 89. No balls and 2 strikes. That's Meyer warming up in the bullpen for the Marlins.
A couple of folks standing right behind him enjoying watching him warm up in the bullpen. One of the unique features here. Marlins Park, and a lot of ballparks have this now where you can just stand right behind relievers. You're enjoying a drink at the Clevelander.
Now that part is unique to Marlins Park. Brinson, broken bat, flare to right field. Coming in as Jay has to play it on a hop. The throw to 3rd base, and in safely is Riddle. Down to 2nd base goes Brinson. Riddle was kind of caught in no man's land, and he took the chance going to 3rd, and he made it. And good job by Brinson taking the extra base.
Yeah, this is a really tough read when you're standing on 2nd base. We have a great view. Like, yeah, ball's going to get down, but look at this view. You're not exactly sure. You start going, and you realize, you know what, maybe John Jay is going to make a catch here, and it changes direction for a 2nd time, and then a really, really good read to be able to get the 2nd base on that by Brinson. So not an easy base running feat, but well executed by the Marlins.
So here's Brian Holiday, 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. First base is open, the pitcher on deck, but what you don't want to do is flip the order around and have to face Derek Dietrich. Ground ball up the middle. That will get one run in, an RBI for Holiday. Riddle comes in to score. Hernandez is going to be pinch hit for right now. We saw Meyer warming up in the bullpen. So it's going to be J.B. Shuck who's going to be the pinch hitter. And this is where the National League game, to me, is so much fun and takes the thought about it. Hernandez, he's going to leave after striking out 8 batters, throwing 76 pitches. But there's a chance here for the Marlins to tie the game up with 2 outs in the 4th inning.
Yeah, it's fun if your name isn't Hernandez, right? Because you got to come out of the game, unfortunately, and he was on a roll and pitching well and likely on his way to double-digit strikeouts based on what we've seen through 4 innings. So now your bullpen's going to have to pick up at least 5 innings for the Marlins, and that's the challenge using the pinch hitter this early.
A good stop by John Ryan Murphy. 1 ball, no strikes. Really good speed on at third and Brinson. So anything past John Ryan Murphy, and there's a good chance the Marlins can tie this game up. You had talked about the pitch count for Hernandez. He was at 76 pitches. How far could he have gone? They had action in the bullpen ready just in case a situation like this arose, and they're ready for it. And the breaking ball's outside, 2-0.
Yeah, the other part of that, why you could probably see that coming, and it's a somewhat easy decision, is that Hernandez hasn't started since June 1st. He's been in the bullpen, as you see his line and what he did over his 4 innings, and he did a very nice job. 6 base runners, 2 runs with the 8 strikeouts. But he had been pitching out of the bullpen, although he did have a 5-inning outing out of the pen. But his last couple, an inning, 2 2/3. So how far you're going to be able to push him was a question anyway.
Three balls, no strikes here to J.B. Shuck, the pinch hitter, with Dietrich on deck. And a 4-pitch walk issued here to the pinch hitter Shuck. And that'll bring up one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball. Derek Dietrich, 1 for 2. At the top of this broadcast, we talked about Paul Goldschmidt, and this will bring out Mike Butcher once again from the D-backs dugout as the infield will come in for a meeting. But we talked about how hot Paul Goldschmidt has been of late. How about Derek Dietrich? I mean, this guy has been phenomenal in the month of June. 1 for 2 tonight, singled on the first pitch, struck out. But here he is in the month of June, batting .385. That's 4th in all of Major League Baseball.
He's been great. He's been locked in, and we were talking about how Don Mattingly felt about the swing, what they like about him, hard-working kid. Been very pleased with the results that they've been getting from him. It's been paying off as of late. And he really said he felt like it started back all the way last year. And it was interesting to hear him kind of describe the process and what it's been over the course of Derek Dietrich's career, where there has been, using Don Mattingly's phrase, a lot of tinkering. He said he was a tinkerer, but he kind of stopped doing that. And he stopped changing his swing and decided to stick with one kind of process within that swing and the mechanics, and it has really paid off for him.
He goes after the first pitch curveball aggressively. No balls and 1 strike. Mike Pagliarulo and Frank Menachino, the hitting coaches here for the Marlins. Pagliarulo, affectionately known as Pags.
Yeah, Irish guy, a couple Irish guys there.
A check swing, and Dietrich can't believe that just got the bat.
Well, down in the dirt, you're working so hard to check your swing, and you say, you got to be kidding me.
Oh, no.
Oh, good call by the guy on the phone. Stood up and let everybody know that that did indeed hit the bat. Way to be on it. Multitasker.
He's the C.J. Nitkowski of fans. Now the 0-2. And this time, Dietrich able to foul it off the right way. Stays alive.
You know, another interesting trend in the game, right? 2 hitting coaches, which has become so important because there's so much work that's done. And it just got too difficult for one coach to handle on. Pretty much every team you run across now has a hitting coach and an assistant hitting coach. And these guys work their tails off. It really is unbelievable to see what these coaches do, the time that they put in, how early they're here, because it's not just, hey, flip me some balls, let's hit off the tee and we'll go play. Now it's talking about information, digging in on the opposing pitcher, talking about pitch usage and tendencies and what they know.
And a big strikeout there by Godley. The Marlins do get one run back. A new pitcher is going to be coming in, though, for Miami as they trail 2-1. As he takes over for Eliezer Hernandez. Meyer was just recalled from AAA as Caleb Smith went on the DL a couple of days ago, and the first batter he gets to face is Paul Goldschmidt.
Do you know what team he got called up from? The New Orleans
Zephyrs.
Baby Cakes. That's why I had to ask. They used to be the Zephyrs.
Back when I was doing minor league baseball, they were the Zephyrs.
I spent more nights than I want to admit in New Orleans. I love New Orleans, but it's not the goal to play in the minor leagues as long as I did there. But yeah, they changed the name to the Baby Cakes.
Can I ask why?
There's some kind of Mardi Gras tie. I think they had a contest, and they kind of let like an online vote deal, and Baby Cakes it is, which, ironically enough, your nickname in college, which is kind of cool.
It's crazy how that all works out. It was Sweet Baby Cakes. Fouled back, 3 balls and 2 strikes.
This is just Meyer's 3rd game in the big leagues. This is his first taste that he has gotten. A guy that so far very little data as far as what he's done up here, but has thrown his slider and curveball more than he's thrown his fastball at the big league level. Kind of on that theme that we were talking about.
Foul ball here by Goldschmidt.
There you go.
There's the baby cake.
In case you're interested in having a nightmare this evening. There's the logo. My goodness. That is intimidating.
I worked for the Portland Beavers, the Sioux Falls Canaries, the Erie Seawolves, but nothing will top what we just saw there.
I mean, the baby cake makes Chucky look like a kitty cat.
Riddle. Nice play at shortstop to retire Goldschmidt. We're talking baby cakes. What's Chris Myers got for us back in L.A.? All right, thanks, Chris. Here we are in Miami. Jake Lamb with 1 out. Had an RBI double his last time up. And he came around to score on the RBI double by David Peralta.
So I mentioned is one of the keys to the game was going to be called to the pen for the Marlins, and kind of this thing has played out the way that I anticipated, where they get to that bullpen early. So the downside, of course, is that means at least 5 innings for the pen, but the upside is this has been a very good bullpen, especially in the month of June. 4th best ERA in the National League, but they have taken on the most innings pitched, no blown saves, and even though Meyer got himself a clean inning, I think something worth noting is they have been the best in baseball with inherited runners, excuse me, in the National League with inherited runners scored. They've been excellent this month.
2 balls, 1 strike here to Lamb. Fouled back, 2-2.
And I thought it was kind of interesting when we asked Don Mattingly about the pen and the usage. The fact that they've had the most innings pitched this month, and he knew he wasn't going to be managing tonight. And he's kind of joked and said, yeah, that's Wiley's got a lot to deal with and trying to figure that out. Good luck. As he sits in the suite and hangs out with Derek Jeter.
Miguel Rojas moves over towards the second base side from third base now on the shift with Lamb at the plate, and 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Here's a good look at it. And for the Marlins this year, 13th most shifts used in Major League Baseball. They've been pretty good. They've taken away 18 more hits than they have allowed via the shift.
I almost think it would be a sense of pride if you're a hitter and they don't shift against you.
Without a doubt, because that means you're spraying the ball really well and that you're difficult to defend as far as how you set up your defensive alignment. I think you absolutely could look at it that way.
3-2 misses inside, so a 1-out walk here to Jake Lamb. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB At Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Jake Lamb has now reached base twice in this game. David Peralta, RBI double his last time up to left field on a ball mishandled by Dietrich out there in left field, and that pitch is taken for a strike. Peralta doesn't agree with it. He has a couple of words for Phil Cuzzi. Remember, Phil Cuzzi opened up this ball game, took off the face mask and walked over towards the D-backs dugout, had some words for them saying, not tonight. Line drive over the shortstop Riddle's head into center. And holding up at second is Lamb. A good throw by Lewis Brinson. It's first and second, 1 out here in the 5th.
And another opposite field approach here from the Arizona Diamondbacks as they continue to do this. And Peralta doing it again. A missed location for Meyer, trying to go away. Ball was middle in. Instead of trying to get big and pull, it keeps the hands in and just hits an absolute missile line drive into center field.
So first and second for the switch hitting second baseman Ketel Marte. 0 for 2 in the ball game. A strikeout and a fly out to left. Good off-speed pitch there against Marte. 0-1. Diamondbacks tonight 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Got both those runs in the 3rd inning. Breaking ball misses. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ben Meyer on in relief of Eliezer Hernandez. Hernandez, he went 4 innings. 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. Career high 8 strikeouts for a guy who never pitched above single A prior to this year. Rule 5 pick. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, you can see the upside there. And he was a guy that was in the rotation, came out of the rotation. The Rule 5 guy missed a little time to start the season. with an injury. That's the situation the Marlins are in. They give Hernandez a little bit of time, give him an extended look, and they also want to be careful. First year in the big leagues and don't want to overuse him a little bit. But we'll see what his future is, whether it's in the bullpen or in the rotation. But he was impressive this evening.
Foul ball off the foot of Marte, 2-2. The Padres are a team that has gone after Rule 5 guys. Seeing maybe some good young talent at the low levels of the minor leagues, and they've kept them. It almost seems like another way of either making an international signing or getting another draft pick for a low cost.
And they're difficult to come by. There's not a lot of success stories with the Rule 5 draft.
Strikeout there. First strikeout for Meyer as Marte goes down looking.
For people that don't understand what the Rule 5 draft is, it's for players that go unprotected in a minor league system, depending how long you have been in the system and depending how you got into a system. If you were drafted out of high school or drafted out of college, international signing, there's a period in which you have to be placed on the 40-man roster. If you're not, then you're eligible to be picked up in the Rule 5 draft. There's probably a dozen or so players that get picked up. Not all of them stick. Some of them get sent back before the season even starts. But if you want to keep that player, you have to keep him at the big league level the entire season. One of the greatest success stories is Johan Santana that the Twins were able to get from the Houston Astros. Delano DeShields was a Rule 5 pick. I should say Delano DeShields Jr. was a Rule 5 pick. Haven't been too many real good ones, but those are a couple that stick out.
I would say Johan Santana was a pretty good one.
Worked out pretty well.
No balls, one strike to John Ryan Murphy. 1 for 2, a single and a strikeout in this game. First and second, 2 outs, top of the 5th here at Marlins Park. Foul back out of play, 0-2.
It is an almost guarantee that any Rule 5 pick that gets picked up by a team and they decide to try to keep him at the big league level, that he will see time at the DL. It's just the way that it goes, and it could be, you know, strained hamstring, quote unquote, or whatever. Maybe it's just one of those ways, and teams are fine with it. It's okay to try to keep a guy on the roster. Any kind of little boo-boo will get him a little bit of DL time, which buys the organization more time to keep him around.
Fastball misses up and in. 1 ball and 2 strikes. "24 pitches in the inning here for Ben Meyer. Got Goldschmidt to ground out to short to open the inning on a nice play by Riddle. Then walked Lamb, a single by Peralta. And fouled back out of play again here by John Ryan Murphy.
It's a little bit of a mistake here by Meyer. You're going to watch second base and you're going to see Starlin Castro sneak in behind and try to get a pickoff. Now watch, as soon as he goes, watch Castro. Meyer looks right there. Can't throw that pitch. You don't have to necessarily throw the ball to second base. You can step off. But right now your second baseman is out of position. And Meyer missed that and ended up delivering a pitch. And if there was a ground ball hit to where Castro would have been, that's a little side conversation for Meyer when he gets back in the dugout.
Breaking ball pulled fair inside the line. Coming in to score is Lamb. Being waved around is Peralta. He will score a 2-run double by John Ryan Murphy, and it's 4-1 D-backs. RBIs numbers 20 and 21 on the season, on the 6th double of the season for John Ryan Murphy.
It's a really good at bat. He's going to get himself a breaking ball that hangs in the middle of the plate. Watch the glove, watch where the ball ends up. It's somewhat down, but it's middle in, and that gives you a chance to pull. And as much as we talked about the opposite field approach, you look for the ball middle away, you react in. And when Murphy saw this breaking ball hanging in the middle of the plate, he turned on it, smoked it to left field, and it's 2 easy RBIs for him and the D-backs as they now lead 4-1.
The D-backs now have 4 doubles from 4 different hitters in the game. Goldschmidt, Lamb, Peralta, and John Ryan Murphy. Here's Nick Ahmed. He takes the first pitch for a strike. You heard the update earlier from Chris Myers back in LA. The home run by Didi Gregorius. Gregorius was traded from the D-backs to the Yankees in large part because of the organizational depth that this D-backs team had at shortstop. One of the reasons Nick Ahmed. Ground ball to the shortstop, Riddle, and he will retire Ahmed, and that will do it. But 2 more runs in the inning on the 2-run double by John Ryan Murphy. 4-1 Arizona. Miami, where you can go salsa dancing if you'd like. Maybe even here at the ballpark.
Nobody wants to see me do that, I can tell you that right now.
That is probably true. Brian Anderson will lead things off here against Zach Godley as the Marlins now trail 4-1, bottom half of the 5th inning, and that's how quickly things can change. Anderson walked his last time up, grounded into a double play his first time up. The Marlins had a chance to tie the game in the bottom half of the 4th inning. In for a strike, 1-1. Derek Dietrich struck out to end the inning with runners on first and third. They pinch hit for the starting pitcher, Eliezer Hernandez, with J.B. Shuck, who worked to walk, but because of that, they had to go to the bullpen. And Ben Meyer just gave up 2 runs in the 5th. Curveball misses, 2-1.
I'm sure for Torey Lovullo, he'd love to be able to get Zach Godley through this inning. As you see, 77 pitches so far through 4+. He is due up second next inning, and that pitch count climbing. He can somehow squeeze 1 more out of his starter. I got to believe he'd be pretty happy with that.
2 balls and 2 strikes. When you were starting, were you cognizant of pitch counts?
No, not really. I mean, it just wasn't. Wasn't an issue nearly as much, to some degree, but the concern and the alarms didn't go off until you were well into the hundreds.
Well hit to left field. Peralta on the run makes the catch for the first out.
But the game has changed big time in that regard. With all the injuries that we have had, understandably so, pitch counts matter now more than ever. You're going to see this ball laced and hit really hard, but a nice play by Peralta. He was a good athlete, former pitcher. Quite a road to the big leagues for him, and he has done a really nice job here for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Nice play in the outfield to go along with a couple of hits and an RBI and a run scored, as Bohr is way out in front of that first pitch. 0-1.
Probably guessing fastball in that spot, sold out for it. Now, I say one more. You see the pitch count at 80. If he can get through this and keep it under 90, they may send him back out. He has gone up over 100 pitches 6 times this year. With Zach Godley's high of 109 that came back in April against the Washington Nationals.
No balls and 2 strikes. One and 2 the count here to Bohr.
By the way, we were talking about Rule 5 draft picks. Justin Bohr was a Rule 5 pick from the Chicago Cubs here to the Marlins for the 2015 season. That's one that's worked out pretty well.
2 balls and 2 strikes. I can remember being here a year or 2 years ago and watching this guy in BP just launch him into the upper deck. And it was just effortless. Section 448.
I'm sorry, it was 2014 was his first year here.
Ground ball, Goldschmidt, the backhand play. Nice toss to Godley covering. 3-1 on the putout. Time for a game break. Let's go back to Chris Myers. Chris, thank you very much. As Christian Yelich, one of the players traded in the offseason by the Marlins. And the first pitch to Starlin Castro just misses outside for ball 1. Castro had an opportunity in the 3rd after back-to-back walks to Anderson and Bohr with 2 outs. But on the first pitch, he grounded out, and Godley just let that one go.
Yeah, a little bit of an overthrow. Remember, I told you when you fall off the way that he has, and if you're missing that spot and the time he gets off, you're going to miss to a right-handed hitter, up and in or down and away. And he missed down and away pretty badly there.
2 balls, no strikes here to Castro. Three balls and no strikes. Godley looking for the first 1-2-3 inning of the game for either team. And Castro's taking all the way right there. Takes a strike, 3-1. Good breaking ball on 3-1. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Castro not even thinking about that pitch, and understandably so. And you don't want that one anyway. You should see a really good look at the knuckle curveball grip. That one hung up and in, but went a little bit too far in and not what Castro was sitting on a 3-1 count.
On 3-2, he's sitting on one down the left field line. That is gone. 4th home run of the season for Starlin Castro.
We saw the first one and he let it go by, and understandably so. You get to 2 strikes and it's a little bit of a different story, and these pitches were pretty identical back-to-back to Starlin Castro, and breaking balls that were in a spot that Zach Godley did not exactly want them. Mentioned the first one that kind of hung up and in. This one very similar. I mean, almost the exact same pitch. That time Castro was ready and put a great swing on it.
Makes it a 4-2 ball game here with JT Riddle coming up. And Riddle, he takes the first pitch for a strike. Castro and Cameron Maben discussing what they just saw. Riddle fouls it back at a play, 0-2. They say it takes total concentration when you hit, right? Let me blow the bubble and then go deep.
I mean, he makes our multitasker in the first row. It's like child's play. You got to be relaxed. Well, you know, it wasn't a big bubble. A bubble, nonetheless.
Oh-2 misses. 1 ball and 2 strikes here to Riddle. Riddle has scored the other run in the game for the Marlins.
So as good as the curveball has been for Godley this year, mentioned it, the great strikeouts, the high total, one of the best in the league, the low batting average of 204. That is the 4th home run that he has allowed on a curveball this year.
Came on a 3-2 pitch. The 1-2 is a ground ball to second base, handled there by Marte. And the 5th comes to an end, but 1 run on the home run by Starlin Castro. It's 4-2 D-backs. The 5th makes it a 4-2 game as Gerard Dyson leads things off here against Ben Meyer in the top of the 6th. Dyson 0 for 2, a pop out to short and a strikeout. Leading off, you wonder if Dyson, you've mentioned it, how many times he's attempted a bunt this year. Maybe tries to lay one down to get on base here to open up this 6th inning with the pitcher spot on deck and Zach Godley. Not bunting, swings away, foul ball, left field. This will reach the seats, 2-1.
As much as we talk about fly balls and the value of getting the ball in the air a little bit more, right, it's a big conversation going around the game over the last couple of years. Gerard Dyson is a perfect example of a guy who really does not want to subscribe to that. You know, in Texas, I do a lot of games for them. Delano DeShields, another guy, his batting average going back to the beginning of last year on ground balls has been somewhere around the 370 range. When you have these kind of wheels that these guys have, the top speed guys, they want to do a little bit more of that to give themselves a chance to get on base.
Well, he hits it on the ground, but right at JT Riddle for 1 away here in the 6th. Justin Kutcher alongside CJ Nitkowski here, and we saw the home run coming on a knuckle curveball thrown by Godley. And since you're a pitcher, let's show the fans at home what that means.
I actually do a knuckle curveball, and it's pretty interesting. You see the grip there from Godley, and for guys that will go with the finger that is up a little bit. Now that one hung. There's another look at this one in very similar location, but a 3-2 count. Castro was ready, but the idea of actually using your finger to get a little bit more pressure, right? Your traditional curveball is somewhere in here, and you're going to get some guys that'll go like that to get a little pressure. You call that a knuckle curveball. I used to go in here. You get a guy like Craig Kimbrell who throws one, who will go there. Like I would let my fingernail grow and put it in between the seams.
Really?
Yeah, and I would also let my thumbnail grow, and I would mess with the ball, and I would do this just to get a little more in there. And I'd have umpires come out all the time and check the ball. It wasn't anything illegal because I wasn't changing anything. I was just trying to push that seam in a little bit more. Mike Mussina, great knuckle curveball. There have been a lot of good ones. Now, what'll set it apart by getting that knuckle up, you can spin it a little tighter, but it'll also be harder. Right,
It's like a spike curve, a lot of them.
Yeah, if you throw 90, 92, your curveball will probably be mid to upper 70s. If it's a knuckle curveball, well, it's going to get you closer to 82 or 83.
Godley grounds back to Meyer. 2 away here in the 6th. That was an impressive tutorial you just gave us.
I appreciate Todd Hollinsworth letting us use his baseball. I'm just glad I got a manicure today. That was a good call by you.
It's a full day for you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to be in Miami, so hit the spa right before salsa dancing this evening.
And that's when the bar empties out. 2 outs here for John Jay. Good breaking ball there from Meyer. 0-1. That's what you call maybe an overthrow or choking the ball, because that just went behind John Jay.
Yeah, certainly no intent in this spot because it was a changeup. And a changeup from a right-handed pitcher that goes behind a left-handed hitter is, yeah, probably an example of holding onto that ball just a little bit too tightly.
Foul tipped, 1-2.
Someone who's done that before, I can empathize. I threw a changeup as a lefty behind Ed Sprague, a righty.
Yes.
Went behind his knees, and Brad Ausmus actually caught it. It's a good feeling. I feel like you're really locked in.
1-2, and guess what? We have our first 1-2-3 half inning of the ball game. We go to the bottom half of the 6th here in Miami. 4-2 D-backs. Marlins Park, just beyond the left field wall. Miguel Rojas will lead things off here in the bottom half of the 6th inning, facing Zach Godley. And the first pitch foul tipped into the mitt of John Ryan Murphy. Rojas is officially 0 for 2, reached on the error by Nick Ahmed back in the 2nd, and is also grounded out to Ahmed. Wasn't close to that one. 0-2. Fernando Salas warming up in the bullpen for the D-backs in case Godley gets into some trouble here in the 6th inning. A 9-5 win by the Marlins last night. Arizona entered tonight's game 10 games above 500. And the breaking ball is fouled back. The D-backs a 1.5 game lead over the LA Dodgers, and What's been so impressive to me is, with the exception of a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, there aren't a lot of big names. Zach Greinke, obviously a big name as a starter, but beyond that, there are not a lot of names on this team. Yet here they are, the ebbs and flows, a good April, horrific May, and a great June. And they've been able to not just stay afloat, but in first place, off the end of the bat to right field, a leadoff single here for Rojas. And they've done it as a total team effort.
That's what it takes when you're not going to be full of stars, and they have spent some money, but not as much nearly as a team like the Dodgers or the Giants are going to do in their own division. I thought it was interesting to hear Torey Lovullo talking about kind of liking the idea of being an underdog. That's how they're looked at, and they've taken on that, and they've embraced it.
And once the first base runner reached base, Torey Lovullo has come out of the dugout. He has made the call to the bullpen. It will be Salas coming in as he will face Lewis Brinson with a runner on at first. 4-2. D-backs leading here in the 6th. In relief of Zach Godley. Nobody out, runner on first here in the 6th. 35 games for Salas, 4-4, a 3.86 ERA. 28 strikeouts to 11 walks, opponents hitting .262 against him. And he'll face Lewis Brinson. This is the 4th time tonight that the Marlins have had their leadoff man get a base hit. One of those times, JT Riddle was thrown out trying to stretch that double into a triple, and here is Brinson skying one to left field, but Peralta is under it, will make the catch. Rojas again draws the throw, but this time it is on line, and he'll get back to first base.
We were about to break a record for most times we've seen it in a game where people have tacked up from first base, but that is exactly, as you mentioned, what Rojas did last time in challenging outfielders and forcing them to make good throws, and he knows he has plenty of time to get back once he reads the throw. It's really smart base running, and I gotta be honest, you don't see that every day. It's a really good job by him to make outfielders throw the baseball.
Ryan Holiday, RBI ground out his last time up. First pitch is in there for a strike.
So Meyer is out on deck. I'd have to say what there's a 0% chance that we would see him hit in this game. 0.1.
You're going 0.1. Okay.
Got to leave it open a little bit.
So you're saying there's a chance. Another one skied to left. Peralta coming in, calls off Ahmed, makes the catch. And here comes Meyer.
Wow.
What was with all that 1 in a million talk?
I mean, I'm pretty surprised there. Maybe they wanted to at least get a runner in scoring position. You can see Conley looking in. He's as surprised as I am. He's like, wait, he's really hitting?
2 away. You also have to factor in how many players you have available on the bench.
They still have 3. Well, I guess.
Because Realmuto.
If you don't count him, then you only have 2. So that could be part of it.
Meyer takes the first pitch, first strike.
I don't think I've ever gotten anything so wrong before.
First career plate appearance here for Ben Meyer. Make the most of it, kid.
Well, if it's any consolation, that's one issue for Salas. His lefties are hitting 386 off of him this year. He's been beating up righties pretty good. 198 against the righties. The lefties have been an issue, so maybe that's why you send up Meyer. No?
The scouting report from the minor leagues was that he can really rake.
You know he's going deep here, right, for all that talk.
2 balls and 1 strike. It's all about confidence. Take that pitch. He knew it was high and away. How many at-bats did you have in your career?
Like 15 or 16, something like that.
Timeout taken.
2. Oh, sorry. Did you ask me how many hits I had? Sorry. I only like to talk about it because I didn't hit in college or high school. I was a pitcher only by the time I was 16 years old. So I'm very proud of those 2 hits.
Big swing and a miss. Meyer was 2 for 5 in the minors this year.
You know, 400 hitter. Crushing it with the baby cakes.
Sweet baby cakes.
That's you. We're talking about the AAA team.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Rojas on at first. The 2-2. Slap to third base. Lamb across the diamond makes the play, and that will do it here in the 6th. We move to the 7th. It's a 2-run lead for the D-backs here in Miami.
Taking over the game, taking over. Yeah, we taking over the game, take over. Now we taking over the game, and you know we won't stop, cause we don't feel pain. Stop. Now we taking over the game, taking over. game. Take over, 'cause now we taking over the game. Yeah, we never stop, we don't feel pain.
Top of the 7th, our game summary brought to you by Budweiser. 4-2, Arizona leading Miami. John Ryan Murphy, a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs. That's the difference right now. Starlin Castro had a home run in the 5th. Here in the 7th, it is Paul Goldschmidt leading off against Ben Meyer. Goldschmidt doubled his first time up, has flown out to left, grounded out to short. And he is ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. Ben Meyer hit for himself in the 6th, back out there for his 3rd inning of work as he relieved Eliezer Hernandez to open up the 5th inning. And now he's behind in the count, 3 balls and no strikes. But John Ryan Murphy, that 2-run double in the 5th inning. That's the difference in this game as of right now. And a leadoff walk here to Goldschmidt in the 7th. Archie Bradley is warming up in the Arizona bullpen. But Jake Lamb comes to the plate, having reached base a couple of times, an RBI double, a walk, 2 runs scored.
And so it was interesting having Conley ready. Right now, we saw that Meyer ended up hitting for himself and going back out there. He is the only lefty they have in that bullpen, which, you know, puts you in that weird spot, trying to figure out when you want to use him. He's been really good. He's been a multiple inning guy for them as well. And the Marlins have other guys, and whenever you have one lefty, you're always going to have a couple of righties that can be helpful in getting out lefties, and they have some of those guys down there. But it's kind of surprising that they were to get him up and not use him now, because you have lefty-lefty switch coming up in a tight game.
Bounces this one back to the backstop, and down to second base goes Goldschmidt. That'll be a wild pitch charged against Ben Meyer. Now, let me throw this out there. Let's say the score was 4-2 the other way, the Marlins leading. At that point, as we have a visit to the mound here, maybe then you change, you bring in Conley because you don't want to maybe waste your lefty here.
No, without a doubt, I think that's the right play. But I guess my point is, once I saw him up, that's just as important to a team. They keep track of those things, so they obviously felt like this would be his spot in the game, and if they were going to pinch hit for him, that they would have went to their lefty Conley. It's just interesting that they had him up and didn't go to any lefty in this spot. Right, you're right in it, and if you're not careful, the game can kind of get out of reach. And so, since he was already up, I'm just kind of surprised that they wouldn't continue to have him ready for this spot of the lineup. Now, if it comes around again and the game is close, or maybe even leading, then you certainly could use Conley in that spot. I don't know if these guys are going to hit again or not this game.
2-0 is in there after the visit. Again, Don Mattingly serving the suspension here tonight. Watching. Thinking along with C.J. Nitkowski.
I imagine would be the smart play. It's like, you should have seen these 2 dummies I had in my office today asking me these dumb questions.
Tim Wallach, the acting manager here tonight.
It's an interesting time here for the Marlins, but it's encouraging to see them get some positive results early. You say, what's so positive about being in last place? But some players are starting to emerge. Good things are happening.
Pulled to second. Castro bobble, comes up with it too late. An error by Starlin Castro. Runners on the corners, nobody out here in the 7th.
This appeared to be a routine play, and this one ended up not being a routine play. Now, with the shifts, of course, you get a little bit of different angles. You're fielding balls off the grass, but that wasn't a bad hop. That was just a misplay by Castro, and not nearly enough time at that point. See that ball hit? Just slow ground ball. See the frustration there from Starlin Castro, and understandably so.
So think about this inning. A walk, a wild pitch, an error, and now David Peralta, who has gone the other way twice. Now he pulls this one foul. 0-1.
Yeah, you almost buy yourself some pitches. I'm always interested about this for hitters, right? It's a great approach. You've driven the ball hard the other way, but you're sitting on the bullpen, you're reading scouting reports, but then you're also seeing what's happening. You're saying, man, you know, pitches away, and even some decent ones. This guy is crushing right now. Can I get in on him? Do I need to get in on him? You also always hear that old adage that it's the starter's job to establish in early in the game, so it opens up the outside part of the plate for relievers. But based on the bats we've seen, I don't know if that's there.
This is tapped out in front. Nice play by Meyer. Having to hold at third base is Goldschmidt. Down to second goes Lamb. It'll be 1-3 on the out. One away now for Ketel Marte.
This is a nice play, and they were able to get the out without allowing the run. And you see Goldschmidt just kind of waiting, and Meyer does a good job. His only play there is to first base, so at least a step closer.
And now an intentional walk is going to be issued here to Ketel Marte. And this will load the bases to set up a force out anywhere, to set up a potential inning-ending double play. But it's John Ryan Murphy, who is 2 for 3 in the game. A single, a double, 2 RBIs. And this is, again, we talked about the intricacies of the game. This is one of those situations where, as an infielder, you have to know exactly where you're going to go, where the ball is hit, if the ball is hit to you, and where it's hit to you.
No doubt. You can see with the middle back that they're just going to try to turn the double play. The corners, at least at first, would come in.
Fly ball to right field. Anderson going back on the warning track. This will be deep enough to score a run. Goldschmidt tags. He scores. Over to third base goes Lamb. And that's a sacrifice fly for Murphy. And now it's 5-2 Arizona.
Tell you what, Murphy hit that ball pretty hard to right field, and it had some carry on it. Does a nice job of finding a way to get the run in.
Third RBI of the night for John Ryan Murphy.
You know, so it doesn't go down obviously as a hit. It's a sac fly, but it's a good at bat with the bases loaded. The Diamondbacks have been horrific in those spots this year. They came into this game hitting 123 with the bases loaded.
And yet here they are in first place.
Yeah, they're one of just 6 teams with a sub 200 batting average with bases loaded. They're far and away the worst team in that regard. Now, batting average doesn't tell the whole story because that's a quality at bat. You do a good job of getting a run in that spot.
Nick Ahmed takes the first pitch for a strike. Double barrel action out there for the D-backs. You got Bradley and De La Rosa warming up. Nick Ahmed looking for his first hit of the night. Runners on the corners, 2 outs, 3-run lead. That's bounced foul. 0-2. A lot of zeros on that box score. The D-backs, yet here they have 5 runs.
Those guys in the middle, though.
Yep.
Torrivello talked about it, and he also talked about, which I thought was interesting this day and age, trying to keep that part of the lineup, that 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of center part of it, in the same spots. Even though Goldschmidt was moved up and now hitting 2, he prefers you kind of leave those guys always in the same spot. There's so much shuffling that goes on in lineups these days that he actually still values some consistency, at least for that part. They come in every day having a good idea where they'll be hitting, and he's certainly done a good job this month, and have done a good job tonight.
Check on Marte at first. Marte 2 for 2 in stolen bases on the season. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Runners on first and third here on the top of the 7th. To center field. Brinson is there, and that will do it. But one more run in the inning. It's stretch time here in Miami. 5-2 D-backs. Perhaps most will see the next epic chapter of baseball's biggest rivalry as Mookie Betts and the Red Sox take on Aaron Judge and the Yankees. Others will see the Braves battle the Cardinals or the Rockies against the Dodgers. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Check local listings for the game in your area. 5-2 ball game as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. A new pitcher. It's Archie Bradley in to face the top of the order, Derek Dietrich. And the numbers on Bradley this year: 38 games, 2-1, a 2.19 ERA, 30 strikeouts to 10 walks. And he has fallen behind 2 balls and no strikes.
He's been fantastic here for the Diamondbacks, and the guy that we'll see a fastball averaging 96. He'll throw the cutter and the curveball as well, and the splits have been really good. 163 against lefties and 207 against righties.
Dietrich singled his first time up, has struck out twice since, including in a big situation back in the 4th inning. That catches the outside corner. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Same spot, same result, and Dietrich strikes out for the 3rd time tonight.
This is a perfectly located fastball by Bradley. Good look at the 4-seamer. Good downward angle on that pitch, and Dietrich didn't like it. He thought it was just off. Well, pretty close, but also at 96 miles an hour, when you drill your spot like that, even if it was a couple of inches more often than not, you are going to get that call. Good pitch.
1 away now for Brian Anderson. 0 for 2 with a walk.
Always looks faster from that angle, doesn't it? Like, we got that nice center field look, and everything looks like, yeah, moving along. You get behind home plate, get a little bit of a feel, especially with the real sound of the game. And this doesn't even tell you the whole story, but you certainly can see a ball jump on a hitter a little bit quicker from that angle.
Smothering it is Ahmed, but this will be an infield single for Brian Anderson, his first hit of the night.
Well, not an issue for Anderson as he gets to a good fastball, puts a good swing on it. As Ahmed did everything he possibly could, but could not come up with it cleanly.
So man on first now for Justin Bohr, who has reached base twice via the walk and a ground out to first base his last time up. Missing lone inside is Archie Bradley, 1-0.
The other part of Bradley's game is that he's got a really good ground ball rate, 53%. He has induced 4 double plays this year, and so with 1 out, runner at first against the lefty, good location of the fastball down and away could get him that ground ball he's looking for.
There's a fastball first strike at 97.
Surprising, right? You just saw a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. This guy's got a live arm. But the strikeout rate is not necessarily what you would think. Last year was approaching 10. That's a really nice number. But this year, 7.3 strikeouts per 9. That's below league average, especially for a reliever. So far this season, even though it's been a very good year for him, the strikeout rate is down a little bit.
Again with that fastball on the outside corner at the knees, 96. And you talk about that view. I always think it's amazing to watch from the dugout view how fast the ball looks. I mean, just watch this view right here.
Ask and you shall receive. Any other views you want? We got them all. 75 cameras here.
See, it was so fast, Bohr couldn't catch up to it. 98 right there. Second strikeout of the inning, 2 away.
Take a look. Good look there at the grip again. Good spin on that fastball, but it is a velocity. And you see that bat of Justin Bohr as he gets under that pitch. Dropped his hands just a little bit. Couldn't get there in time as he swung right under that fastball.
2 away now for Castro, who homered his last time up. Got a hanging knuckle curve against Zach Godley. Godley went 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 4 walks and 4 strikeouts. And Bradley has found the strike zone. He's found the zone right now.
He's a really good example. We have this conversation a lot with starters that go into the bullpen. They struggled in the rotation. His ERA was up over 5 over the time that he had in the rotation. And then he gets the bump in velocity. He was sitting right around 93 miles an hour with his 4-seam fastball as a starter. Goes into the bullpen, averages better than 96 last year. He's right around 96 this year with the average fastball. So we got that 3-mile-an-hour bump. And all the stuff just played that much better, and he's become a dominant reliever over the last year and a half.
Again, a check on Brian Anderson over at first base, who was 2 for 3 on the season in stolen bases. Can't imagine he's going to steal here. Down by 3 in the bottom of the 7th inning. Up high, 2 balls and a strike. Fouled away the 96-mile-per-hour fastball. 2-2 the count here to Castro. Starlin Castro, people forget, at one time was one of the top young players in all of Major League Baseball. As a shortstop for the Chicago Cubs, got to 1,000 hits really quickly in his career. Ended up having to move over to second base. 2-2 off the glove of John Ryan Murphy. Down to second base goes Anderson. This should be a pass ball against John Ryan Murphy.
Yeah, it was mislocation, and it was missed pretty bad. Now, you always wonder, is there a number in there as far as how much you miss it by? Should it be a wild pitch? I mean, he missed by a pretty good amount. I'd say 2 or 3 feet there, but because it's in the air, you feel like, okay, well, should the expectation that the catcher should catch that ball? It's a tough one at high velocity.
They're going to say it's a wild pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it either way. I really could. You never get too comfortable back there as a catcher, especially when you have a high-powered arm that Bradley has. And again, if it doesn't hit the dirt, you expect him to catch it, but that's certainly not an easy play.
3-2 is inside, so after the wild pitch, a walk. And that will bring the tying run to the plate in the form of JT Riddle, who has swung the bat well here tonight. Riddle doubled to the gap in left center field his first time up, was thrown out trying to stretch it into a triple. Singled and scored in the 4th, grounded out to second in the 5th. And he comes up as the tying run here in the 7th. Has 3 home runs on the season. And the first pitch breaking ball is in there for a strike. So after all those fastballs and losing some command with it, he goes to the curveball.
That's a really smart play, and he's been very good with his curveball, especially against lefties. We keep track of the whiff rate. 41% of the curveballs that he throws that are swung at are swung on and missed against lefties. He's got a good one.
Slow ground ball to second base. Marte gobbles it up, throws wide at first base. Goldschmidt. Here comes the run from third base. Anderson to score. A costly error there by Ketel Marte. Down to third base goes Castro. It's 1st and 3rd with 2 outs.
This is shocking. We have seen a couple of routine plays here that have gotten botched by both teams, but this one obviously in a huge spot should have easily ended the inning. And you see Goldschmidt there trying to do his best to get to that ball. And he probably was just as surprised as everybody else to see this throw that far offline.
Ketel Marte leads National League second baseman in fielding position and fielding percentage, and he just committed that error. And that is his 3rd error of the season. And that extends this inning. A meeting on the mound again. And that'll bring up Miguel Rojas.
There's so many different ways that we try to judge defense, and a lot of the advanced metrics, they're a little up so on defensive metrics, to be honest with you. They don't tell you the whole story. Trust eyes. Errors certainly matter. I think that's a real deal. But the Diamondbacks rate extremely well defensively. They are, depending on what metrics you're looking at, top 1 or 2 in all of Major League Baseball as far as the runs that they prevent because of their defense. I got to tell you, what we've seen tonight, they definitely have not been on their game defensively.
Now the umpires are coming together. Phil Cuzzi, Dan Bellino, Tom Hallion, Adam Hamari.
Could be a couple things here. Maybe asking where the ball bounced. Well, if it caught anything out that was actually out of play. I don't think there was any runner interference in that spot. That could be another conversation that is coming up. This is one of those times that I would love to, there's been a conversation going around the game that they talk about what they want to do. The umpires are talking about what is happening, even if there's no call here, so that at least we know.
I think it was about mound visits.
Okay.
And that, I believe, was the 4th mound visit of the game for Arizona. You saw Torey Lovullo hold up 4. The 4 umpires got together to make sure they had the correct number.
Oh, was the scoreboard wrong? Scoreboard has it right now. Who knows?
2 mound visits remaining for both teams as Rojas is at the plate. And the fastball's in there for a strike. Rojas singled his last time up. Has reached base twice. That single and the error by Nick Ahmed on what was a routine ground ball earlier back in the 2nd inning. So a couple of errors by Arizona in this game. An error by Miami. Could have been a second error by Miami. Derek Dietrich was not charged with one. And there's a fastball in the outside corner. Quickly 0-2 here to Rojas. And Rojas doesn't like that call by Phil Cuzzi.
I had a little bit of cut to it. Looked like it might have finished off the plate. But Phil Cuzzi set the tone early tonight. He's not having it.
Castro at third. Riddle at first. 2 outs, 2-run lead for Arizona, bottom of the 7th. And that's up and in. 1-2.
Rojas was hit by a pitch on the 15th of June in Baltimore. He came out. And you're always thinking about that, right? Whenever you get hit, he got hit up in that same kind of area. And with a guy that has the fastball that Bradley has, just got hit there not that long ago. It always makes you think a little bit jumpy. You're standing in the box against 97, 98.
1-2 fouled away. We'll do it again. On deck is Brinson. Brinson has a single in the ball game. Marlins won last night, coming from behind. They won 9-5. The D-backs lead it here 5-3. They scored an unearned run in the top half of the inning. Now an unearned run by the Marlins in the bottom half of the inning. 1-2 in the dirt. Good block by Murphy to smother that one. 2-2. Starlin Castro, he walked with 2 outs. He homered back in the 5th. He's hoping to get across the plate and make it a 1-run game, if not even more. Two-two fastball blown by Rojas. And Bradley gets out of the inning. But the Marlins do get the run back. We head to the 8th. It's 5-3 Arizona. through the fish tank here at Marlins Park. I'm surprised there's not like a hot yoga studio.
Well, give it time.
Top of the 8th. Look who's back out there.
I mean, really, this whole place could be a hot yoga studio right now. The roof is closed. That does not mean that it's cool in here.
Ben Myers back out there. And a foul ball. Gerard Dyson. On deck, Daniel Descalso. In the bullpen is someone that the Marlins don't want to see, as this one slicing away from Brinson, able to make the catch on the run for the first out. Time for a game break. Let's go back to LA and say hi to Chris Myers. All right, thank you very much. As the pinch hitter, Daniel Descalso takes the first pitch in the dirt from Meyer. Descalso in the air to right field, playable for Anderson. And they're quickly 2 away. Baseball's 2 biggest events of the summer, back-to-back. The action begins at the T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN, July 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then catch baseball's biggest stars at the 89th MLB All-Star Game, presented by MasterCard, July 17th on Fox. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. 2 away for John Jay.
This is turning into a pretty impressive outing here from Meyer, who I thought would have been done after 2 innings, but giving the Marlins right now some length, which, listen, you're trying to win games, but at the same time, as I mentioned, no bullpen has thrown more innings than they have this year. So when you can get a guy to come in and essentially almost, not quite there, but match your starter, give you 4 innings of work. It's 3 runs and 2 earned so far, but as far as the length goes, he's been fantastic for that Marlins pen.
And tomorrow it's Wei-Yi Chen against Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray making his return off the DL for the D-backs. But the length that Ben Meyer is giving the Marlins here tonight gives that bullpen some rest. Ground ball to first, Bohr to Meyer covering, and that's a 1-2-3 8th inning worked by Meyer. We go to bottom of the 8th, 5-3, Arizona leading Miami. in South Beach.
I like South Park better.
Well, South Park, Charlotte,
Ah.
and South Beach, the Clevelander. And then you move over to the ballpark.
Where's
here
Kenny?
in Miami. And it's 5-3, bottom of the 8th inning. And there's a new pitcher into the game here for the D-backs. And that new pitcher is Yoshi Hirano, who has a 22-game scoreless streak, 19 2/3 consecutive innings without allowing a run. A 1.32 ERA in 37 games, and he'll face Lewis Brinson.
This guy is crushing. Now, it does not overpower you, the fastball. You see that one at 91 miles per hour, but it's the fastball, the split combination that he has. Somewhat reminiscent of Uehara, almost that same repertoire. Pinpoint command is huge with the fastball in those spots.
In the air to right center field. Back on it is Jay with room to make the catch. One away. It's eerie how similar the delivery is to Uehara.
You're not uncommon, Japanese pitchers, to have that pause in their delivery, kind of a stop and start. You don't see that as much here in the States, but that's more how they teach pitching over there. And then it just seems like, I played there for 2 years, every guy had a split finger and had a pretty good one. That is a pitch that they really have mastered in that part of the world. Almost, I think, the way that maybe, I don't know, if American baseball take kind of some ownership of the cutter a little bit, or MLB does. I mean, obviously, a couple of the greatest cutters came from non-American pitchers, and Mariano Rivera and Kenley Jansen. But here's the delivery, a little pause, stop, start, even a little wrap behind his back. That's what's so cool about pitching and hitting in our game. Mechanics can look different. Doesn't mean that somebody else could do that exact same delivery.
That one hits Holiday. So that'll bring the tying run to the plate, and it's going to be Cameron Maben finally getting Meyer out of the ballgame.
Well, they wanted to pick the right spot. You mentioned what's happening with their bench right now. They already used Shuck. Mundo's not available, so that meant just 2 players that were left on the bench. And instead of doing a little bit earlier, worked out well, I guess good enough here for the Marlins, where they can bring a guy like Cameron Maben in to pinch hit, representing the tying run.
And that means Nick Whitgren is getting ready in the bullpen for the Marlins. Maben could not hold up on that splitter. 0-1. With 1 out now, it is 20 consecutive scoreless innings thrown by Yoshi Hirano. Bearclaw, the closer for the Marlins, at 18 2/3. Steckenrider in the Marlins bullpen at 14 1/3. They got some pretty good arms in the bullpens. In the dirt, 1 ball and 1 strike. Just in case the Marlins tie or take the lead, Bearclaw is up in the bullpen. Just gingerly throwing right now. By the way, the line on Ben Meyer, 4 innings, 2 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts through 65 pitches. 1 ball, 2 strikes here to Cameron Maben.
So as you watch Hirano talk about the velocity, I mean, it really is kind of a carbon copy, at least from a repertoire standpoint. The fastball will always look faster, right? Cameron Maben saw a first pitch split finger he could not lay off of. And so when that's in the back of your mind and you've seen that thing with that kind of bite, you're knowing you have to protect against it with 2 strikes. 91 will look like 95.
Beautiful stop there by John Ryan Murphy. Just watch how he puts his chest down on that split finger.
Yeah, good look at the grip that you see there. Quickly as he can, and you get padding, but not everywhere. That one caught him on the shoulder and did not hit that chest protector at all. Because that split that we've seen, at least so far tonight, has a little bit of a cut to it. So when it hits the dirt, it's going to kick off to that first base side, which makes it even that much more difficult to block.
Two. Did he go? The appeal to first. He did not, says Dan Bellino. So 3 balls and 2 strikes.
So check this out, and this makes a lot of sense. The split finger is a pitch you really have to dig deep on it, so you can see Hirano right there. He starts with the split finger grip, right? The idea of holding a fastball and then trying to get to the split finger without giving it away would be really, really difficult. So he'll bring it into his glove and he's going to switch it to a fastball.
3-2. There is the fastball, and it freezes Cameron Maben for the second out of the inning.
That is pinpoint command with that fastball right at the knees. In the back of your mind, you're thinking, is that a split? Is it going to drop it? By the time you realize it's a fastball, it's too late. The ball just jumps on you with that split finger in the back of your mind. That is a perfectly located fastball at just 90 miles an hour.
2 outs now for Derek Dietrich, who has struck out the last 3 times he has come to the plate. Singled on the first pitch he saw of the night. And he swings the first pitch here, and that is a foul ball. Says home plate umpire Phil Cuzzy. It's Cuzzy's call until it passes the base. .5-3 ball game, bottom of the 8th. Justin Kutcher alongside CJ Nitkowski here on FS1 from Marlins Park. Up high, 1 ball and 1 strike. The first place Arizona Diamondbacks entered tonight a game and a half in front of the Dodgers, 4.5 in front of San Francisco. Outside, 2 balls and 1 strike.
So with that strikeout on the 4-seam fastball, that makes 32 strikeouts on the season for Hirano. 16 via the split finger, 16 via the 4-seam fastball. Usually there's a dominant pitch that will stick out in a pitcher's repertoire, especially a guy who knows how to get swings and misses, and that's the one you worry about. We talked about the curveball with Godley and all those strikeouts that he has on the curveball, but with Hirano it has been both of his pitches splitting those punch outs evenly.
Ground ball up the middle, base hit here for Dietrich. Making the turn at second, but holding up is Holiday, and that's a wise decision. You don't want to make the third out at third base. So it's first and second with 2 outs here in the 8th.
Well, take a look at this pitch here. There's the split. Pretty well located. That one a ball for sure off the plate and maybe even a little bit down. It's a nice job by Dietrich to get some plate coverage and get this ball up the middle. Ronald's a guy that gets a lot of ground balls, has a good ground ball rate, so you find yourself a hole trying to hang on that split, and you're going to see Holiday here. Big turn at first. I think he thought he was going and then thought better of it, and you're right. You don't go unless you know you have it in that spot. You want to get another hitter to the plate.
So now it's Brian Anderson. Singled his last time up, came around to score. Swings and misses at the first pitch.
This is where he is good. Look at his season average with runners in scoring position. .413 for Anderson this year. We were talking to Don Mattingly about that. We just talked about how intense this guy is. And I said, do you believe that he's clutch? He said, he's just the same guy all the time. Everything matters. Everything's a big moment. And so when the real big moments come, he's just not overwhelmed.
Got handcuffed on that, foul tipped into the mid of Murphy, and now he's behind in the count, 0-2.
By the way, that's third best in baseball as far as the batting average with runners in scoring position, but even better, 15 for his last 28 in these spots. How about Matt Kemp? How you doing? I mean, people thought he wasn't even going to be on the team this year with the Dodgers. He has been fantastic and maybe the most important part of their offense.
The Marlins have left 9 men on base here tonight. 0-2 is pulled foul. Freddie Gonzalez set to get out of the way over there at third base. No balls, 2 strikes here to Anderson, bottom of the 8th inning. Holiday got hit by a pitch, Dietrich a single. Another 0-2, back up the middle, but there's Marte to second, not in time. Everyone is safe.
unusual decision there by Marte. We talk about this all the time with infielders that have the internal clock and they have an idea about how much time they have. And when Marte fielded this ball, I thought for sure he was going to come up and throw to first. That throw just not in time. Ahmed wasn't there in time. I don't know if it wasn't a matter of him not getting there. There wasn't enough time for him to get there based on how the defense was positioned. Most likely would have had an easy out at first base because of how hard that ball was hit. Marte just looked like he had no interest throwing that ball to first base.
They rule it an infield single for Anderson. And a visit out to the mound with the translator for Yoshi Hirano. Remember, he entered this game with a 22-game scoreless streak, 19 2/3 innings. It's now at 20 1/3 innings, yet the bases are loaded, 2 outs, and Justin Bour is going to be the hitter.
I mentioned the struggles of the Diamondbacks with the bases loaded. The Marlins not much better, hitting just 203 in these spots this year, but they do have a couple of grand slams. But all they need right now is a base hit, and that'll give them a pretty good opportunity to tie this game up.
And give Derek Dietrich a lot of credit. Really busted it down to second base to get there, to beat that throw by Marte to Ahmed. And again, you said it well. It wasn't that Ahmed wasn't ready for the throw. He didn't have enough time to get there. So here is Justin Bour. 3 career grand slams, a .345 career average with the bases loaded, but hitless so far this year in this situation. First pitch, a big swing. He was looking for career grand slam number 4.
He certainly was. And here's the deal too. I mean, first of all, there's the split finger for a strike, right? And that's the part of it, that you're looking for something early up in the zone. When you know a guy has a good split finger, you start to see that thing at your knees. You know it's going to finish below the zone. But he saw that high, he let it fly, and he just missed it.
I was going to say, if I'm Hirano, are you worried at all about hanging a splitter, which essentially he just did there on the first pitch?
It is now.
That's up high with a fastball, 1-1.
You know what's interesting too? You talk about guys who are really good with runners in scoring position, that they do a nice job of expanding the zone. They're not afraid to swing at a pitch that's off the plate, knowing that if they just get that base hit, they'll be able to drive or run in. But to try to do it against Hirano is a little bit trickier, especially pitches that are down and away because of the bite that he has on that split finger fastball. I'd expand the zone on a fastball, but I don't think I would necessarily as a hitter against the split if you can pick it up in time.
The 1-1. In the air to center field. Dyson has plenty of room. And Hirano's scoreless streak continues. It's now 23 games. As the Marlins lead the bases loaded, we go to the 9th, 5-3. It is still 5-3 as we go to the top of the 9th. And the first round of the U.S. Senior Open begins Thursday as Baseball Hall of Famer and our colleague John Smoltz makes his professional golf debut as he joins the legends of the game. Don't miss the U.S. Senior Open from the Broadmoor Thursday at 4 Eastern on FS1 or stream it live on the Fox Sports app. And good luck to our colleagues on golf. Steve Flesch, Olin Brown playing in the U.S. Senior Open, and of course, John Smoltz. How cool is that?
He is absolutely loving that. Just an unbelievable golfer, obviously, now taking it to the next level.
And the new pitcher is going to be Nick Whitgren in here to face Paul Goldschmidt.
It's been an interesting season for Whitgren. Good strikeout rate, 8.8 per 9, but the walk rate has been really high for him, up over 5. Batting average against overall at 240, certainly very respectable, but the walks have been a little bit of an issue for him. And he has got some pretty unbelievable contrasting numbers between the two pitches that he uses the most, the four-seamer and the slider. His four-seam fastball has been really good this year, sitting at 92 miles an hour and just a 125 batting average against. But the slider, the pitch that he uses second most, opposing batters are hitting 571 on that slider.
Ground ball to third base. Here comes Anderson charging, who just moved over to third to make the play. One away. So with the pitching change, we also have a lot of defensive changes. Cameron Maben comes in to play right field. Brian Anderson goes from right field to third base. Miguel Rojas goes from third base to first base. And the new pitcher is Nick Whitgren. So Tim Wallach, who is the acting manager here for this game, doing a nice job managing the bullpen. Defensive changes as Jake Lamb steps to the plate and he fouls the first pitch back.
Yeah, everything has been right as far as what Tim Wallach has done. He's a guy that's interviewed for managerial positions in the past. He's managed at the minor league level, level as well. Has not gotten that opportunity in the big leagues yet.
0-1 slapped the other way by Lamb to beat the shift again. It is the fourth time that Jake Lamb is on base tonight. He's got an RBI double, a walk, reached on an error, and now a single.
Take a look at the shift here. You see everybody on the right side outside of your third baseman. So just tons of room on the left side of the infield, and Jake Lamb takes full advantage of that opportunity. Just looking at shift numbers before the game. It's perfectly executed. There have been 1,070 hits taken away this year because of shifts. I mean, you think about how low batting average is right now, historically low in Major League Baseball. That is incredible.
Again, if you do what Jake Lamb just did, you won't be able to shift.
Something's going to have to give. I wonder, everyone gets worked up about the idea of Rob Manfred saying, at least suggesting, would he outlaw shifts or make some kind of adjustments, regulating them to some degree. And people get really worked up because it's been a really smart move in baseball and it's worked. But don't we pretty much have that in every other sport?
Well, for me, it's
illegal defense. Certain ways that you can have a formation in the NFL. Same thing in the NBA and basketball. I'm not saying I'm for.
Oh, so now you know about the NBA?
I heard that you can't play zone defense.
You can now.
Oh, you can. See, that's a little. But at one point you couldn't, right? There's adjustments to what you can do based on what they want for pace of play and scoring and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I'm for banning shifts or even putting any kind of limitations on them, but it's at least fair to bring up.
See,
when you've lost 1,000 hits.
I'm someone who believes that don't make an excuse for, don't make the adaptation for the players because they're not adjusting to the shift. Make the players adjust to what's happening in all different sports. Like people in the NBA don't like the hack-a-Shaq rule, hack a DeAndre Jordan or whomever. As this one is pulled through the hole on the right side, Lamb takes the turn. He's going to go for third, and this throw will be cut off, so it's first and third, one out here in the ninth for the D-backs. You don't change the rule because someone's not performing. You got to perform as opposed to changing the rule.
But if you're running the sport, whatever sport it is, and you don't see your players adjusting and you worry about the action, And I think if I'm Rob Manfred, that's the conversation I'm having with my advisory boards. I'm concerned. The action's not there. Too many strikeouts and walks, and time in between action, the ball being put in play is a real problem. I just wonder if that's part of it. I don't feel strongly about it one way or another, but either the players are going to change or there could be some adjustments in rules.
Well, here is Ketel Marte, who was intentionally walked his last time up. He's 0 for 3. Comes up with runners on the corners in a 2-run game. Top of the 9th. First pitch pulled foul. Dave McKay down there at first base. The coaching box makes the play. 0-1. Nick Whitgren, the third pitcher of the game here for the Marlins. And a check on the runner Peralta at first base. Peralta has put together a nice game. He's got 3 hits, 2 singles, an RBI double. A nice play out there in left field. Watch out. 0-2. Brad Boxberger warming up in the pen. He'll have to face 4, 5, 6 in the order. Starlin Castro, JT Riddle, Miguel Rojas. Will he have a 2-run lead, or will he have a little more cushion? And a timeout is called. Asked for by Marte and granted by Cuzzy. No balls and 2 strikes here to Marte. Ground ball to first base. Rojas checked the runner back. Covering the bag is Whitgren, and that was a nifty play by Miguel Rojas, who just moved over to first base in this inning. And also give credit to Whitgren.
This is not an easy toss. First of all, he does a nice job of checking the runner at third to make sure that he is not trying to score, and it's a good job by Whitgren as well. You keep running over there. You don't stop, as you see him not hesitate at all. He ducked in case there was a throw home, but he kept running. That's a nice toss. I think Rojas thought maybe he would have a chance at a tag, and once he realized he didn't, he did a nice throw home. You're on the opposite side of the infield, and boy, the utility player and the value of the utility player continues to rise. And the idea of playing multiple positions becomes more and more important in the big leagues.
Now here's John Ryan Murphy, second and third, 2 outs.
So when you go and tell your Little League coach that your kid only plays shortstop, understand you are doing him a huge disservice.
So they can't pull a CJ and say I only pitch? No hitting involved?
Fortunately, that's all I could do.
Fortunately, you were a first-round pick.
Tricked them. But it's, I mean, you're seeing it in the game. And in Texas, they're taking it a step further. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who was a utility player with them, getting an opportunity in the big leagues. He's a backup catcher as well. You don't see too many utility guys that you would actually feel comfortable catching at the big league level.
Outside, 2 balls and no strikes.
He's a tremendous third baseman. I mean, it's really amazing to see. And, you know, Ben Zobrist, he wasn't the first to put it on the map, but I think he's the one that really brought a ton of value to it once he got paid.
Right.
You saw him hit free agency and you realize, yeah, this is really valued in the game. And of course it makes sense in the National League. You're seeing it right now, but even around the game now, with the best of players getting days off and getting rested more than we have seen in previous generations, having good fill-ins that can play multiple positions has just been hugely important.
And you say in the National League, but I think it is just as valuable now in the American League when you're basically going with a 3-player bench.
Yep. No doubt, man. No doubt. It's I mean, you just don't see an organization that doesn't have a guy that they're comfortable putting, not just like sticking him out there, but actually holding multiple positions down pretty well.
Intentional walk issued here to John Ryan Murphy to load the bases for Nick Ahmed. So they'd rather go after Ahmed with 2 outs and the bases loaded than go after John Ryan Murphy after falling behind in the count. And after what Murphy has done tonight, you can't really argue with that. Ahmed is 0 for 3, walked, strikeout, ground out, and a flyout. Fastball's in there for a strike. A chance for the D-backs to bust this game open here at the top of the 9th inning. Lamb at third, Peralta at second, Murphy at first. 5-3 lead for Arizona. In the dirt, good stop by Holiday. 1-1. Foul back, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And now a visit out to the mound by Holiday. And coming in is Rojas from first base. Remember, the Marlins have Castro, Riddle, and Rojas due up in the bottom of the 9th inning. 1 mound visit remaining for the Marlins. And Boxberger continues to throw out there in the pen for Arizona.
It's good use of a visit right there. Obviously, you get late in the game, 9th inning. You want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Give yourself a chance, give your team a chance, keep the game where it is. And it's really important that the catchers have the confidence of the manager when to use them. Obviously, each and every one matters, but you have to look in and necessarily ask for permission when you have trust.
That 1-2 misses inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Nick Ahmed, the shortstop, had an error, uncharacteristic. Both he and Ketel Marte have had errors on seemingly routine balls. 2-2 is fouled away. We'll do it again. Nick Whitgren is having to work here in this 9th inning. Laboring through it. Got a ground out by Goldschmidt to open up the inning. Lamb went the other way for a base hit. Peralta pulled one through the hole on the right side. Ketel Marte grounded out on a nice play by Rojas. The intentional walk to Murphy. 2-2, foul tipped into the mitt of Holiday. So we go to the bottom of the 9th. 5-3 ball game. Boxberger coming in. In time now for tonight's Gatorade proven performer. It is John Ryan Murphy. What has he done in this game? Well, he singled, had a 2-run double, had a sacrifice fly, was intentionally walked because of what he had done earlier in the game. He is our Gatorade proven performer for tonight's ball game.
Did a really nice job behind the plate as well. Blocked a lot of balls. He'd been working hard both sides of the ball tonight. So good evening for Murphy. He's got one more inning to go as Brad Boxberger is going to try to close this thing out.
The numbers on Boxberger: 17 of 21 in saves, a 3.62 ERA, 37 strikeouts on the season. And that's up and in to Starlin Castro. Yellow.
It was an off-speed pitch. You see it there at 82 miles per hour. So no intent, but just one that got away from Boxberger. You see Castro's left hand just barely getting out of the way in time.
That one's in there at 92 for a strike. 1-1.
The crazy part of that is Boxberger rarely throws his slider. Statcast says he's only thrown 7 this year. Oh, there's a slider right there, that one that almost hit Castro.
Ground ball back to Boxberger. Pops out of his mitt. Enough time to recover to make the play. One away, and let's check in with Chris Myers back in LA. All right, looking forward to that on Whip Around with Chris, Frank, and JP. One away now for JT Riddle. Outside for ball 1. Riddle was able to extend that 7th inning thanks to the error by Ketel Marte. That allowed Brian Anderson to score. There's an off-speed pitch, the changeup in there for a strike. 1-1.
So I mentioned the Diamondbacks had not blown a save the entire month. The bullpen has been locked in, throwing the ball well. Brad Boxberger really kind of cementing the closer position, has kept everybody in line. He has been very good for this club.
Ground ball to Marte again, looks this one into the mitt, and there are 2 away here in the 9th. So the Marlins are down to their final out. Torey Lovullo done such a good job with Arizona as they're 10 games above 500, a game and a half in front of the Dodgers entering tonight for first place in the NL West. After going through a litany of injuries this year, they have survived up to this point. Down low for ball 1 to Rojas. The Marlins need a base runner to bring the tying run to the plate. And it's 2 balls and no strikes here to Rojas, who is 1 for 4 on the night. A single reached on an error, a ground out, and a strikeout. Fouls the pitch back. 2-1. I was going to ask, do you take a strike if you're Rojas?
Well, I don't know if you take, but you certainly want to get locked into the one spot you're looking for a pitch, and that wasn't it. And part of it also goes to how Boxberger's season has gone. His walks have been up there a little bit, 14 of them in 27 innings for him so far. And so in that case, I'm not going to say that you take, but you're looking for one pitch in one spot. That ball was out of the zone. That was not the one pitch in one spot.
That was the pitch in a good spot, but now it's 2 balls and 2 strikes, and now the Marlins are down to their final strike. After winning last night 9-5, the Marlins trail 5-3 here to the D-backs. Tomorrow it's Chen against Robbie Ray. Ray coming off the DL after the oblique injury. 2-2, got him swinging. Foul tip into the mitt of John Ryan Murphy, and the D-backs take this one by the score of 5-3. They move to 45 and 34 as the Marlins fall to 32 and 48 on the season. Godley gets his 9th win of the season, his 4th in a row. Hernandez suffers a loss. Boxberger with his 18th save. For CJ Nitkowski and our entire crew here in Miami, I am Justin Kutcher saying so long from Marlins Park. Now let's go to Chris Myers, Frank Thomas, and JP Morosi in LA.